لو كان سلعة تباع لبذلت فيه الأموال العظام أو صعد في السماء لسمت إليه نفوس الكرام.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome our viewers and listeners to yet another episode of At-Tibyān Podcast, which is a project dedicated to helping examine with knowledge contemporary affairs happening in the Muslim communities. Likewise, we tackle topics such as studying in Saudi Arabia, benefiting from some of the most prominent Islamic scholars of today, how to apply to different universities, juggling marital life with studies, self-improvement, education, books, and much more. There will be new weekly uploads every single Monday at 9 p.m. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala, KSA time, 6 p.m. UK time, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Feel free to send us questions and topics as you guys already have been doing. Wa hayyakum Allah wa bayyakum. Welcome, brothers. Today we have a very special guest, which we're welcome to have with us, our brother Ismaeel Sharpe. Hayyakallah akhi.
Allah hayyik akhi. Jazakallahu Khair for having me.
Of course. And we wanted to have you on, obviously, because the project is dedicated with bringing Tibyan to different affairs. And you have a very interesting master's topic that deals with something that I think the viewers will be very, very interested in. But before we jump into that, I want to tackle a few different tanbihats, things that we need to talk about before we begin. Okay. Firstly, I think there's a bit of confusion with some of our guests or some of our viewers that we need to make sure we talk about, and that is like with the program is with having guests on. Some people think that it's just a direct interview and we're just interviewing and that's it.
Yeah.
But no, as we say every single podcast, that this is a project dedicated to examining affairs. So we're going to keep the project going, but we're having a friend along with us while we do it.
Yeah, who can join the conversation.
Who can join the conversation, could add benefit to the conversation, stir it up a bit, bring some,
needs to be,
and just hang out. Even if he doesn't say that much, just he's with us.
Yeah.
Like a podcast is like we're in a cafe, we're having a discussion, and we're talking about it in a beneficial manner. And even some of the viewers have said that to me privately. They're like, I like that vibe because it reminds me of me just hanging with the brothers.
Yeah.
No.
So that's what we want to bring. But also, there's going to be an educational factor, of course. No. Mixed with dealing with contemporary affairs, etc.
Yeah, Tibyan.
To keep it beneficial, you know, because some people are like, oh, you know, Ustadh, I think you're talking too much, or Ustadh, so and so's talking too much, and
let the guest speak more.
And it's like, well, he's a co-host; he should be speaking. You know, this should be something where we're all talking. Only problem is we shouldn't be cutting one another off, of course, and that's what the headphones are for. So that if it starts getting too loud, you know that there's too many people talking at one time. When you're watching the show, the podcast, do you feel like there's too many people talking at one time at all, or
you're a regular listener?
I mean, it has happened in the past. You know, not mentioning any names, but generally it's good.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all good.
Alhamdulillah, mumtaz. And it's going to happen naturally in conversation. But just we just need to be aware of it, you know, so it doesn't happen on a consistent basis.
Me and you have been friends for a long time. Man. Obviously, you know.
And you've cut me off a lot of times.
Yeah,
I'm used to it.
Everyone is different, you know.
When the coffee kicks in, you know, I think that's
It's hard to hit the stop button, huh?
It can be.
Jameel. Tayyib, let's move on. This week we had some things that took place. Obviously, subhanAllah, our last podcast we were talking about the death of Shaykh Ubayd, rahimahullah ta'ala, and then now, and in that same podcast we mentioned about Shaykh Abdur-Ramān Muhyī, rahimahullah, who at the time was in the ICU, right? And then we took a week off, and subhanAllah, like the next day the Shaykh passed. So we asked Allah ta'ala to have mercy on Shaykh Abdur-Ramān Muhyī,
Ameen,
and grant him Jannat al-Firdaus.
Ameen.
SubhanAllah, this is serving for like yet another reminder of how many scholars are passing away over all these years.
Just the last couple years, how many?
Yeah. Once you went to Medina and benefited from the Shaykh, right? Or,
no.
Or he came to the UK, or?
No. The attended the Dawrah in Dammam, where the Shaykh took part. It's like a 7-day Dawrah.
Jameel.
But I didn't benefit from it in Medina. But our brothers, Abdullah bin Khamis from Medina Student Life, he benefited from the Shaykh. Abdur-Razāq benefited from the Shaykh privately, both of them privately. And I think Abdullah bin Khamis done a video on the Shaykh's biography. So for those that don't know the Shaykh, check out that YouTube channel, Abdullah bin Khamis, Medina Student Life, for a biography about the Shaykh. Abdur-Razāq has also done a small video about the Shaykh and some of the benefits or things that he. So Allah have mercy on the Shaykh. It's just it's sad, and it's And even yesterday, I think we heard of Shaykh Muhsin Abbad that he stopped teaching in Medina, in the Masjid al-Nabawi. He said that it's too difficult for him with old age, so he stopped teaching. So that itself is, you know, alhamdulillah, the Shaykh, of course, he's still alive, and may Allah Ta'ala preserve him and his health and give him a life that is long upon ta'ah. But nevertheless, his durus in Masjid al-Nabawi have been for decades. He's been teaching. And those that didn't, so those didn't benefit from him before, now the opportunity is gone.
It reminds me of the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Maybe you can remind us about the death of the ulama.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the people of ignorance coming out and
that
teaching.
The knowledge will not be lifted, you know, by taking it away from people's chests. Rather, it will be lifted by the death of the ulama. They are the carriers of knowledge. And that's basically what happens whenever an alim is lowered into his grave. Vast knowledge goes with him into that grave. Allahu musta'an.
I remember Shaykh Fawzan mentioned this hadith and just breaking down crying. On numerous occasions, actually, like in his durus. SubhanAllah, because it hits hard, man. It's serious, man. And then especially in this day and age when we see so much fawahish, so much fawda, so much people speaking without knowledge, shubahat. I mean, YouTube is nothing but a cesspool of shubahat. Like it's just whatever you want on YouTube, you can find. If you have a particular idea you want to push, you can find somebody who's already making videos on it. No problem. And this is what we're living in.
That's the sad times. But I'd also like to add a very, how can I say?
Optimistic approach.
No, it's even sadder than the death of the scholars, to be honest. Which is that, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide those who the scholars already died in their hearts before they died.
Yes, subhanAllah.
And scholars, of course, when they die, the knowledge goes with them. But there are people out there, because of shubuhat or because of misguidance or because of whatever it is, with them, the scholars are already dead in their hearts. They don't take from the scholars. They attack the scholars. They vilify the scholars. So subhanAllah, it's
subhanAllah.
That is the greatest calamity.
When I think about that, I'm wondering, who do these people, like if the scholars are dead to you, right, and you don't take from them, you don't want to benefit from them, you warn people against them, you warn people against their majalis, where do people supposed to go? I mean, do people give this type of thought to what they say and what they do, and know that they're going to be asked about this Yawm al-Qiyamah? That to me always kind of sticks with me.
SubhanAllah.
I mean, they shoot themselves in the foot, really, because
in the heart.
Where do they go? They don't really, and in the heart. Yeah. Good one. I like that. They don't really go anywhere. They stay away from any progression in talab al-ilm.
Exactly.
And they may become weakened in their iman and fall into things, that are, questionable.
100%. And you see this.
Yeah.
I mean, even these individuals who do warn against the majalis, for example, here in Saudi, I see it a lot where they might warn against the majalis, but where are they going?
Exactly.
No. What do they benefit from?
Yeah.
What are they? And it's like everything you do is just listening online, and you're living in the land of scholars. Yeah. The land of Tawheed. Ajib. You couldn't find nobody. Then the one person you do find may be teaching some, I don't even want to go into that. Yeah. I don't even want to go
Rent
into
out
that.
istirahas and do telelinks from UK whilst living in Riyadh,
you hear
the land of the scholars.
Bro, you hear some of the craziest things these days. Yeah. When I heard about that, I was like, are you kidding me?
For real?
There was
we used to have telelinks in the UK for scholars from Saudi. You're trying to tell me it's the other way around.
It's the other way around.
Wow.
You have an istirah and we're doing telling with
it happens.
Brother for that.
The UK?
Call in. UK, West, wherever, it doesn't even matter. The fact that you have to do that,
you're here in Riyadh.
You couldn't find anybody. I mean, even a teacher in a jamia, somebody who's maybe from the sigar, who can come and benefit from the people and, help out. Ala kulli hal. Yeah, so may Allah Ta'ala have mercy on Shaykh Abdur-Ramān Muhyī and grant him Firdaus and all of the ulama from Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah who have passed away. And bless those ones who are still living. Next, from the things that we had taken place before we jump into your a little bit of your background, obviously this is the World Cup, and a lot of things have been going on with this.
Of course.
Why are you laughing, Akhi? This is something you want to talk about.
Yeah, I mean it's a topic that, in one way, of course, like the scholars they mentioned, something insignificant waste of resources, waste of time, waste of everything. But at the same time as well, there's no doubt that it's one of the showpieces in the world, as in all eyes on them. It's a massive, massive event. Not just amongst the disbelievers, even the Muslimun, everyone is interested in it. Everyone's paying attention to it. So the limelight obviously has been on Qatar because of that. And I laugh because, subhanAllah, the way they plot, and their plots blew up in their face, because they've really, really made fools of themselves, the West. And if not before, for a lot of the people, especially from the West, even non-Muslims, the hypocrisy kind of like has become clear.
I seen there's this one, I guess you could say he's a popular maybe commentator or a YouTuber. I don't know what you would say he is, influencer. I don't know. His name is Matt Walsh. He did the famous or infamous documentary of What is a Woman? Exactly. And some brothers did some reactions to that video. At any rate, he's always kind of like on calling out kind of hypocrisies to take place. And even he was like, and this is obviously a non-Muslim living amongst the non-Muslims in the West, support. I mean, he's a patriot. He loves, his country and things like that. But he's like, we are not like the moral compass.
Exactly.
Like we're not. We can't push our views on everyone. Like, who are we to say anything? And I was like, subhanallah, yani shahid min ahli. It's like, subhanallah, we have somebody from their own ranks has said, like, I mean,
so many. He's not the only one. Johnny Barnes, so many
Piers
of them.
Morgan.
Piers Morgan. There's a few
UK.
people.
Even Gary Neville, all of them. They've been like, wait a minute, what's the big deal? We're taking their money. We're buying stuff from Qatar. Why all of a sudden, when it's the World Cup, we have to like value signal and be like, oh, we're better, whatever.
Subhanallah. And he was like saying like how it's funny how all that respect for cultures and stuff went out the window. When you come 100%. There and you want to wear your rainbow T-shirts and support the alphabet community, and they're like, wait, this isn't your country. And they're like, oh, I'm being oppressed. Subhanallah.
Do you know actually that guy, subhanallah, that guy who went out there, made a fuss, recording himself with the T-shirt?
That's what I'm talking about. The American guy.
The journalist.
The journalist.
He was arrested.
He did he get arrested or he got just
they arrested
prohibited from going in? I can't remember the story. But I seen it pop up.
He died.
What?
Yeah. Heard this. He died yesterday. He died. He's been sick for 10 days. Allāhu a'lam. Did the sickness start after that circus of his? But he's been sick.
Did he die in Qatar or?
He died in Qatar. He collapsed at the end of the match, I think, between Argentina and Netherlands, something like that. That's what he said.
They probably blame his death on homophobia.
No, I don't think they can, because he literally died at the stadium. He collapsed there and he was sick. He had bronchitis or something like that. He was sick for the past 10 days. And he tweeted like that he's feeling sick and these sort of things. So wow, that's some عاجل عقوبة أخي subhanallah. Allah knows best what it is, but nevertheless that's what happened to that particular guy. But I just wanted to mention that. If you don't know that.
I didn't know that. But I mean, we can learn a lot of lessons from what we're seeing with regards to the hypocrisy.
There was an interesting tweet from the I think he's the chief executive of the whole organization of the World Cup. He said in a tweet, which was obviously, it put out the hypocrisy and also the clear morals. He said, as a Qatari, I'm proud of what happened. I don't know, and he's talking about the situation. I don't know when will the Westerners realize that their values aren't universal. There are other cultures with different values that should be equally respected. Let's not forget that the West is not the spokesperson for humanity. I was like, wow, like people are just. I mean, right now, like even the kuffar, the believers, the students, the non-students. I mean, it's becoming so clear that like there's clear right in these situations. You know what I'm saying?
One of them, obviously. And then we have this World Cup as well. It's just all these events are lining up one after the other
to expose themselves.
To expose these people that,
And this issue lines up to what we're going to talk about later on about the master's research that I was doing. About not to give away the whole thing because we're going to talk about it, but about colonialism, and forcing one's culture upon someone else. Call it cultural imperialism, and even if you go back far, white supremacy, European colonialism, you see the same thing happening now with Qatar, you know, on an ideological level.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of lessons we can learn, and we can see that nothing much has really changed. The way they're doing it is just a bit different.
You know, the asl is the same, but they try to beautify with flowery kalam to make it seem like it's something
different. And that's the point, you know. They're claiming primacy of values, like they have the asl of morality. When you go into their ideologies and their philosophies that stem from the Western countries, it's all built upon shak. You know, part of the main ideology that comes from, let's say, liberalism and these different ideologies is that we cannot claim right or wrong. There's no such thing as right or wrong. So how you come into another country and telling them what is right and wrong when in the origins of your philosophies, the right and wrong doesn't exist. You know? Subhanallah.
It's crazy.
And obviously we got to talk about, I mean, somewhat speak on it, which is people are going to probably watch this and be like, Ustadh, so you're telling me you watched the World Cup? Or you know, you benefit from the games. Let me be very clear. I don't know anything about soccer, really. Like, I don't know any yes, I call it soccer.
The fact that you call it soccer,
I call it
that
soccer.
speaks for itself.
And I don't know much about it whatsoever, but I do know, generally speaking, about watching these, you know, different competitions and things like that. The scholars say that it should be stayed away from because it leads to what? Wasting of time. And the Prophet say what? Iqtanim khamsan qabla khamsin. So take care of 5 things before 5 things. And from them things he said, what? Shababaka qabla hiramik. Yani your youth before you become old. And then he mentions a few things, but from them is also what? Hayatik qabla mautik. So your life before death. So we need to be preparing for that time where we meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when you sit here and you look at how these games are played out, I mean, it might be what, 3 hours?
90 minutes.
You definitely don't know anything about football.
I mean, basketball, football, like American football, is easily, I would say easily, probably 2 hours to 3 hours from what I remember, I believe. Because you got to figure in the commercials. You got to figure in halftime. You got to figure in the quarter breaks. You got to, there's so much to
No, we don't have quarter breaks. I think football is just, it's 2 halves. Hour and a half. 2 hours max. It's 2 hours. About 2 hours. That's about 2 hours.
Like,
if it doesn't go to penalties.
So the scholars talk about this. I mean, there's obviously some people who, some of the scholars have really, I would say more severe and staunch stances on just the World Cup generally speaking and its origins and things like that.
So other than being a waste of time, one of the scholars mentioned is that the aura as well of the men being seen. But that obviously not to say that does not apply, for example, to playing football. Because then playing football's got other benefits.
That's something else.
As long as you don't miss your salah and you're covered and because that brings a bit of you get some fitness and you benefit.
Of course. I mean that goes without being said. Everybody needs to take care of their fitness for sure. You know what I'm saying? But we're talking about specifically sitting down and watching grown men kick a ball.
But the truth is,
run up and down the field.
Truth is though,
and I don't mean to like speak down on it, just like, but I mean this is what it is, you know.
But unfortunately.
Would you say the same thing for basketball, Abdul-Hameed?
100%. 100%. Watching men for this period of time, which I think is the same amount of time, a straight 2-3 hours dribbling a basketball up and down the court,
that's a waste of time.
To me is a waste of time.
No doubt.
It's a waste. I mean, I know some people who maybe stick to highlights or something like that, but and even that is questionable. However, sitting there and actually watching, that long, who even has that time? To me, it's like, I don't even understand how you can get that time.
It's entertainment, isn't it? I'm not saying it's right.
People have nothing much to do then.
We're drawn towards entertaining things.
I get it. But at the end of the day, I mean, we need to take care of our time, and that's the point. 100%. And that's the point with the scholars get to,
But then again, this thing, it is what it is. Everyone's interested in it. And it has actually an effect on the perception of the masses. So even yesterday, Morocco winning, by the way, in the semi-finals, unheard of, right? It's like sort of something that now gives some kind of pride to Allah of Muslimun and in their identity and like, a Muslim country. Because obviously, like the brother mentioned before, this colonialism and stuff, it also extends a bit to football, How they have all of the players. Because I mean, not just that they take the resources in terms of gold. They took the best players too. So if you look at the France team, it's like 90%, 80% black. So the issue, it is. So the issue is that with Morocco in particular, it's I think I've read it's like about most of the squad are not born in Morocco. Some are born in Madrid, Spain. Some are born in France. Some are born. It's basically a mixture of people that usuluhum ethnically Maghribi, yes, who decided to play for their country. Now that itself is a big thing. That itself is a big thing. Why? Because now they could have played for the countries that they have the nationalities of, right? But they played for their country, and now they're bringing that spotlight to their country as a Muslim country. Then that is, it has. I mean, on the ground. I'm talking on the ground. Yes, regardless of the hukm of the World Cup and what benefits it brings and the likes. Sometimes there are certain things, yes, that we might consider to be bad, but Allah brings khair through it.
I mean, obviously, that's why we're talking about it. It's something that we're just saying right now. It's pretty much very relevant. Like right now, everyone's talking about everybody.
Exactly.
I mean, we see it even living here in Saudi. Look at when Saudi was in the conversation. I mean, it was a big thing here. Something I never witnessed before, actually. So it's definitely something that draws a lot of attention. So I get what you're saying.
It shouldn't be. I mean, obviously, we wish that people paid more attention to durus and mashayikh and these sort of things. But we say, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala aid the ummah, and and the whole reason we're actually talking about this, we brought it up, was just to point out the hypocrisy.
100%.
That became
That's
clear.
one of the best lessons.
From the kuffar and how they play with the narratives.
And many non-Muslims going and experiencing an Islamic culture as well.
Definitely.
And being attracted to that.
From what I've heard, they've done a good job in terms of showing, of being very hospitable to those people that came. So that itself is a good thing, alhamdulillah, that these people have come to a Muslim country, seen, that what they've been told in the media is not true.
Which is unheard of, really. I mean, like, I know when I first became Muslim, like, I could never fathom a lot of non-Muslims going to Muslim lands and, like, feeling comfortable, staying in a hotel and living, especially after 9/11 and these things happening. It's like, there's always kind of like this wall, a barrier, where it's like, we're not going to
unknown territory.
You don't go around like
unsafe.
These terrorists, whatever, Arabs.
But that explains why there was so much pushback from the West that the World Cup shouldn't be in Qatar.
Because it's tearing that wall down.
They didn't want that. They didn't want people to come here and experience it for themselves.
And now the Hujjah is being established, Akhi.
For a lot of people,
the Hujjah is being established. I mean, going to these lands. I mean, Islam is out there now. I mean, you even have popular influencers and YouTubers using same lingo as Muslims. Saying things like Wallahi, Allahu Akbar, Assalamu Alaikum, Inshallah. You know what I'm saying? Look at Andrew Tate entering us to Islam recently. I think living in Dubai now. So I mean, the Hujjah is being established. Allahu Akbar. So now it's more important for us as Muslims, which we can add to this topic, to make sure we're doing our part by having good akhlaq and calling to Tawheed. I mean, now the conversation isn't taboo anymore. People know and are hearing about Islam. It's a perfect opportunity to break it down in a very simplistic way about who the Creator is and what He wants from us being here.
No, definitely.
Allahu Akbar. So another thing I want to talk about was, on the topic of kind of still connected to media and things like that, but protecting our children. And that was something that recently was floating around. And I think I sent it to you guys, right? Because I also put it in a Telegram group. And it was a book, a kid's book. SubhanAllah.
I didn't see this.
You didn't see this? It was a kid's book that in the kid's book, it calls to clear, alphabet language. And I'm using particular language because we're on YouTube. So you have to make sure you speak in the proper way. It calls, it's pretty much about a young girl and she's telling her friend, apparently she's,
she's coming out.
Yeah, she's coming out. She's part of
she feels like a
alphabet community. I almost looked up again the alphabet community.
Alphabet is a name of Google, right? That own YouTube.
Okay.
So people saying alphabet, that might also ring bells. So careful.
Well, we'll see. So then, I sent it out just so people can be aware. And obviously the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Kullukum ra'in wa kullukum mas'ulun 'an ra'iyati." So all of you are shepherds, or all of you are shepherds, and you'll be asked about your flock. And it goes on to say that the ruler is a guardian for his subjects, and the man is a guardian for his family, and the woman is a guardian of her responsibilities in the house and the offspring of her husband. So all of us, we have a mas'uliyah. that we must take care of.
No.
And this is something that, because obviously,
do you want to translate that word?
Responsibility. You know, we all have a responsibility that we're going to be asked about Yawm al-Qiyamah. And from them things is like, obviously, you know, being Muslim and being practicing Muslim, we try to protect our kids from TV, Netflix, YouTube, all these other avenues. Books are from the only avenues where we like feel okay letting our children go into, because it's reasonably safe. It's you know, intellectual, picking up kalimat, etc. Plus Muslim books at that.
Especially with a girl with hijab.
This is written by Muslim.
Muslim with a girl on hijab. Look at the cover. A girl with hijab on.
A girl with hijab sitting there, and it's called something Layla.
No, because you know, like now they're trying to put the equal representation in different books. So you got non-Muslims doing books with like hijabis.
So that's what I was thinking. No, this is actually written by a Muslim. I can't remember the author's name, and I don't even really care to mention it. But it's crazy times we're living in. So we got to make sure we're taking care of our children. And looking after these books, you know, that just because it has a Muslim woman on there with a hijab,
don't pick it up.
Don't think that everything in there automatically is Tawheed and flowery, lovey-dovey
Islamic morality.
We have enemies in our own ranks.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's like more harmful than, let's say, a book by a non-Muslim, maybe a fictional book.
Of course.
This is more harmful because you're looking at it like, oh, a book for me, you know?
Yeah. I mean, your guards want to be down, right?
Yeah.
So you automatically assume that these Muslims want the best for you. They're writing this book for us, and we all in the same understanding.
Yeah.
But it's deception. It's deception. I mean, it's a da'i on the path of the hellfire, calling you away from that tariq.
Yeah.
But that's how the enemies get to us anyway. This is part of a much bigger strategy that we need to pay attention to, which is that our enemies, the enemies of Islam, they get to us and they get to our children not by way of the church. Okay, they get to us, through some of us. Some that are upon Islam, or some that claim Islam, and Allah knows best, you know. They come through us through those avenues, so that we feel safe through someone who might be an imam, or he might have some kind of religious authority, some kind of religious status or whatever. That's how they get to us. That's how they get to our kids. So you can't let your guard down. You cannot let.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of a podcast we did a few weeks ago. We were talking about the hypocrisy and different kind of like plants that we got to be aware of, like munafiqun as well. Don't assume that everybody is on the same moral compass of you as you. There are people who are going to be around us who are enemies to Islam. I mean, if this happened during the time of the Prophet sallallahu, we'd be so naive and silly to think that it's not happening right now.
No, 100%.
And if you open the book of Allah, Surah Al-Baqarah, one of the first verses you'll read about the hypocrites, Allah says, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَقُولُ آمَنَّا بِاللَّهِ وَبِالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ وَمَا هُمْ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ.
Allahu Akbar.
From the people are those that say we believe in Allah and the last day, but they're not believers.
Exactly.
Don't be naive. Don't just be like, oh, subhanallah, his speech is so nice, and he talks about the sunnah, he talks about mashallah, I love that, bro. La, you can't be that naive. You have to measure a person's speech through his actions. If he says one thing, and we're going to come to that as well, it's a completely other topic as well, but they say one thing on one platform or in one book or in one tape. You can't just take that and then run around with it. You have to look at what is this person's manhaj as a whole. What are his actions? You know, so it's ajib. So this sense of naivety it's there amongst a lot of our brothers and sisters, and it's not a good thing. They think it's a good thing. They think, oh, I'm having good thoughts of my brother. La ya akhi. Especially when it comes to taking knowledge. When it comes to taking knowledge, there is no husnul dhan, I've got good. La. Inna hadha al-ilma deenun fanzur amman ta'khudun deenakum. This religion is deen. This knowledge is deen. Look towards who you take your religion from, i.e. look with an eye, a critical eye. Not the loving eye. Look with a critical eye and see if that person is suitable to take knowledge from or not.
You were about to say something, right?
No, I was going to say, with this author in particular, or this topic of trying to introduce these ideas in the language of colonialism, which we'll talk about later on, or the academia surrounding it, they call these people like surrogates. You know, like a surrogate mother. She's not the real mother of that child, but she's there to nurture the child. So, like, there's an agenda at play whereby the most effective people to take and to teach these ideologies are the people from within that community. They go and learn, or they get brainwashed with these ideas, or they start believing them that these are the way forward, and then they take it back into the community. Surrogates of cultural and colonialism, or whatever you want to call it. This is all plays into that overarching agenda. You know what I'm saying? And as the brother was sorry to
go ahead.
As the brother was saying about knowing the person's manhaj before you start taking from them, I was going to say, like, that comes down to like learning the usul of the religion. Talabul ilm, the importance of talabul ilm, learning the usul of the religion. So when you can see something like off, you know the asl. You know, okay, maybe I don't know the specific rad for that, but I know that's wrong. That's not what I've been taught by that.
It reminds me of the hadith of the Prophet where he says there will be a time where people that look like us, يتكلم بلساننا, or كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم, they speak our tongue, and they resemble us, but they're not on the same path. This whole topic leads us, because I'm getting like on the wall. I really want to jump into your topic, but we got to finish one more last thing before that, and that is obviously we are a podcast to deal with relative affairs, and wallahi, I really can care less about talking about this anymore, because I think it's been talked about, but we are on YouTube and it's a cesspool, and a lot of the people who follow this podcast, I think they may be influenced or somewhat intertwined with other people's followers. So with that being said, this whole situation that took place in the last week or so with this Daniel Haqiqatjou, which I really didn't want to come back to this, because I remember we talked about it in a podcast at least 3 weeks ago. This is what led us down the path of talking about the Khawarij for 3 weeks. And from the first podcast, I remember mentioning, I told the viewers, do not look at his stuff. Don't open these channels. Not his stuff, but any person's stuff who you don't know who studied. You don't know who he studied under. You don't know what his methodology is. You just hear some good kalam and you go into it. And it's like, now, weeks later, it's like, Ustadh, can you talk about this? Because I heard
I got that message in my Telegram channel,
and this is what happened.
Ustadh, can you and Abdul-Hameed deal with his latest video? Now I don't know if that brother who posted that message actually watched the video himself. It could be that people around him have watched it and he wants to share knowledge with him. But there's no doubt that the latest video he has done, entitled something Madkhali virus or something like that, I don't know.
Rand Khali.
Virus.
What is that? Rand Khali.
Talking about the Rand report, which is like an American
the agent stuff,
like an agent think tank agenda related to the government, whereby they want to push secular liberal ideas into the Muslim community.
He's pushing that, like he's saying that about others.
No, he's saying Madkhalis are feds. He's got a whole section called Madkhalis are feds.
He's saying that people that don't take the position of criticizing the ruler publicly are Madkhali bootlickers, basically.
Wow.
You know, and are supporting Rand.
Which is that report, the government.
But I wanted to, you put you sent a post of Shaykh Salih al-Fawzan on your Telegram group a while ago about this masala of you shouldn't take from anybody until you know where they've studied. Maybe, do you have the...
I don't have it with me, but I remember what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You read it, sir?
And that was like...
I think I might have read it that week. I can't remember.
On the podcast?
Yeah, because we were dealing with taking knowledge from people who didn't have tazkiyat or not. I think it was that podcast we dealt with it. All of this stuff is intertwined. Like, I hope the viewers and the listeners understand it. Islam is so pure and clear that it might seem like we're going back to something, but it's really intertwined. They all connect. You know, as far as taking knowledge from other people, as far as not going back to these people for knowledge, or sitting with the scholars, or what the scholars say about, you know, what is it? Not sitting with people of misguidance. Everything is in one sequence. You get what I'm saying? So it comes off as pretty beautiful, because the truth will never contradict itself.
So I wanted to just clarify something, because I said those who don't take the position of publicly criticizing the ruler, that's let's give them the benefit of the doubt that position exists, because what we learn as Salafis, Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, is that the asl is you don't criticize them publicly. That's what we've learned from the mashayikh, the kabir al-ulama. So maybe there's a statement here or there which is like a shadh statement, how would you say shadh? Like a
weak statement,
or or you're taking something khas and you're getting rid of, or you're ignoring the whole general ruling, which is what we learn as with our mashayikh.
I mean, for the most part, whatever the proofs that they use, there are very clear differences between those situations and what these people are doing.
Of course.
There's a hadith that mentions man ahana sultan, that whoever disgraces the sultan, Allah disgraces him. The issue is not about the public criticism per se, just like, to mention something rulers done wrong. La. For example, the hadith of Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, right? He's there with him and he's telling him it's wrong. Indahu, with him. And his intention is to do something about this munkar that he's seeing right now happening, try and change it there and then. Compare that to someone just sitting somewhere else like a news reporter and talking about everything happening in Muslim countries, and then he's not bringing about any sort of benefit, any sort of maslahah. So the whole issue is, I believe that he wants, or these people, they want us to get involved. And they want to steer the conversation. They're the ones asking questions, answer my question. We say la. We say la. It's not, we're not here to answer your questions. This is much bigger than this. This is more about a much bigger issue, which is this whole, we want to rectify the ummah by calling to khilafah, and how to rectify the ummah. This is what the issue is about. Every single sect that you find from the sects, yes, all of them, they claim the same thing, which is, the ummah is in a bad state. How do we improve the ummah state? This is basically what all the different sects they differ on. So some they say by going out door to door, like tabligh. And then you have these people that say no, by establishing khilafah. La. The way you rectify the ummah is through Tawheed, tasfiyah and tarbiyah. This is the bigger issue. These are side issues. These are important issues, but these are the symptoms. They're not the underlying issue. The underlying issue is that this individual, Daniel Haqiqatjou, and everyone like him, their da'wah is not da'wah to Tawheed. Their da'wah is not da'wah of tasfiyah and tarbiyah, of rectifying the people first, connecting them to the Lord, and then as a result, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give us khilafah. In accordance to the ayah in Surah An-Nur, وَعَدَ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنْكُمْ, Allah mentions in that verse that He has promised those who believe and do righteous good deeds that He will give them khilafah. Allah has promised us.
No.
But Allah has said, يَعْبُدُونَنِي لَا يُشْرِكُونَ بِي شَيْئًا, under this condition that they worship me alone and they don't commit and they don't associate any partners with me. This is the path towards khilafah. Okay, this is how the Sahaba radiallahu anhum gained khilafah.
Establishing Tawheed.
By establishing Tawheed.
No.
This is our da'wah.
No.
And this is not the da'wah of Daniel Haqiqatjou or any of his fanboys. Their da'wah is a da'wah of what is a political da'wah. That's why he wants to gather everyone. That's why he's like, the Deobandis are good, these are good, Hizb ut-Tahrir is good. He wants everyone on his side. That's why,
except for the Madkhali.
Except for the Madkhalis. And this is the problem now. The problem is that these people that are on this political call, there are two types. You have the type that are straightforward, forthcoming. They tell you what they're on. They will attack our scholars. They will say Albani is murji. They won't shy away from that. Yes? They will never quote Bin Baz. Yes? And they will call towards their khubth, and they'll openly speak against the rulers and what have you. That's one side. Those we say, okay, khalas, you're courageous, rajul, come to the battlefield. Such a person, we willing to engage. Not in terms of argumentation, but we'll refute them, because now what they have, what they call to, is clear. Now compare that to this individual. This individual, his own audience are confused. His own audience are like, how are you sharing a platform with these murji'ah?
The issue goes back to what we talked about already, is the brother and people who might be on the same path, they have not sought knowledge.
Exactly.
And we can't stress that enough. Like, some people may think that it's just some bragging right, or you're putting yourself over someone else or looking down on others. La, hada shay, it's something which is very important. A person needs to seek knowledge with the ulama, not by way of books, not by way of Google, not by way of YouTube, not by way of Twitter, which these are also avenues that can help you get to knowledge. However, you sit with the scholars, and the fact is he hasn't. I don't even know if he knows Arabic like that to even sit with the scholars. And which brings me to another point. Why is he posting the questions to Masakin people on YouTube? Like me personally, I'm Miskin. Why you posting it to people who like this? Why don't you? Exactly. If it's really something that's really pressing you and it's a really genuine question that you really want to figure out, take it to people who understand. Or how about you ask that lejna that you sat there and was quiet with, who were telling you to rebuke this. If it's a genuine question, and I'm not here to judge his intentions, but I'm saying if you really want to know, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Ask the people of knowledge if you do not know, as Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala tells us in the Quran.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like I say, it's trying to mix everything. One moment he says, I don't call to rebellion. Another moment he does. One moment he says, blah, blah. He's just trying to bring everything together. But one thing we need to remember, Ikhwan, is that Daniel Haqiqatjou doesn't speak on his own capacity. He speaks on the capacity of his organization, Muslim Skeptic. Even that video he does, We at Muslim Skeptic, is not a one-man job. And I'm not surprised if he doesn't have a group of these, whatever people that are on his ideology, maybe a lot of them influenced by takfiris as well, that come together and bring everything together for him, and he's just a spokesperson that reads it out.
Allahu Alam. I think he's the head of it.
He might be the head of it, but he's got support. He's got support. Under Muslim Skeptic.
You mean influence? People influencing him.
Influencing and support. It's a group of people.
Different authors.
It's a group of people.
Yeah.
I mean, on his website, he's got different authors, and even the videos that he does, he's got a team of people that work with him and that bring his resources and whatever, and he reads it out and he presents it. But at the end of the day, it's an organization, and this organization, what it's after is just to gain numbers, to gain followers. So one moment, he'll play the Salafi tone. Another moment, he'll play the Deobandi tone. Another moment, he'll try to appease his Hizb ut-Tahrir Takfiri followers. Yes? To the extent that I said that even his own followers, they're like, what, Ustad, how are you sharing platform with these madkhalis, whatever?
I think when I think he kind of like got started with just writing articles and stuff, right?
Yeah,
I think he used to write for Washington Post, which is a famous newspaper.
Yeah.
So he used to write little what do you say, like columns.
Columns,
So, I mean, I think that's what the Muslim Skeptic thing was supposed to be about, generally speaking.
I mean,
however, you can't apply, I'm sorry, 1 second.
Yeah,
you can't apply that to all realms of the religion.
Yeah.
It doesn't give you now the ability, just because you were somebody who wrote something and talked about news affairs, you can't now apply that and then start mixing it with teaching and being like putting yourself in a line of people who have actually spent years at the feet of the scholars and learn this religion through books. You can't do that.
That's the point I was going to say. Like to begin with, the refutations and the teaching about the reality of liberalism, feminism, philosophical liberalism, all these things, like that's his mahal. You know, he studied that, he understands these ideologies. Had he have just stuck to that mahal and not gone into masail of manhaj and aqidah and like, okay, there's benefit in that, but now the problem is that as we saw with regards to saying that, you know, the madkhalis want to you know, his blood is halal. We saw the brother Muhammad James, Jazakallahu Khair, he showed that what is missing is all these tafasil, which the people of knowledge and the tulab al-ilm who really understand masail of fiqh and aqidah,
100%.
He missed. He did. You could see that he didn't understand, or maybe he didn't even know that these different furuq from amongst the Khawarij even existed.
Yeah,
this is the problem.
Shaykh Uthaymeen mentioned about like people who are explaining, because I've seen the way he's explaining some of them ayats and things like that. It's not something new. People have come and tried to explain man la yahkum bima anzal Allah, and then go on to explain it in a way that, see, we need to address the roller and blah 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 blah. This isn't new. It's something that's old. That people have tried before who have this path. But he pointed out, Shaykh Uthaymeen, he mentioned that this usually stems from three different affairs. One, a lack of knowledge. Two, the lack of istidlal for that knowledge. And three, su'ul qasd, yani an evil intent. Yani you already, like he's like from the qawaid, a well-known qawaid amongst the ulama, they say that istadil thumma ta'taqid. Yani get the proof, understand what the proof is for, then believe. La ta'taqid thumma istadil. Don't believe something and then look for a dalil for it. And this is from the alamat ahl bid'ah. This is from the signs of the people.
He really wants to quote Sheikh Albani. Shaykh Albani, all the takfiris almost mujma alayh, they call him murji. Any takfiri will call Shaykh Albani murji.
Yeah.
You want to quote, why is he quoting Shaykh Albani? Because he just wants to reach the Salafis. That's the danger with Daniel.
That's the thing. He wants to cherry pick. He wants to pick
no,
and choose.
He's got 40 faces. No,
do.
the problem is these faces. Because now, like I said, the other takfiris, they're clear. But now he's trying to go deep into the Salafi community. Like we talked about earlier, the way that, mentioned surrogates. Like you mentioned, they bring someone that is similar to you. Same thing. Daniel Haqiqatjou is kind of like playing the role of being that person who brings this takfiri ideology into the midst of the Salafis. By quoting the likes of Albani, bin Uthaymeen, bin Baz. Like we said, takfiris never quote these scholars. They revile these scholars, they call them murji'ah, and some of them make takfir of them. Hizb al-Tahrir don't take from these scholars.
Yeah. The reason I say he's cherry picking, because again, that qaida, which is what? Istadil thumma ta'taqid. Yani, get proof and then believe, right?
Yeah.
He already believes something. He believes a certain way, right? These type of scholars, Allah knows best if he ever even quoted them before. But he's using them now. Why? Because he's like, gotcha. He's trying to use like a something to bring that audience in and see, look, isn't these your scholars? Isn't these people you take from? It does not understanding that you can go to so many other
the same
books
scholar
of Shaykh Uthaymeen, and it refutes that same exact point that you're trying to use this little small wedge, which is
mutashabih,
like
leaving the muhkam.
Like we were talking about earlier, right? They take the mutashabihat and leave all the muhkam.
Or you take a position that one of the scholars had before that he took back. Shaykh Albani, he had positions before that he took back.
Sahih.
Exactly. Shaykh Muqbil as well. He went through stages, but he recanted that. He made tawbah from that. You can't now quote what he said before and then overlook everything else.
Exactly.
So it's cherry picking 100%. At the end of the day, Daniel Haqiqatjou, if anything, Akhi al-Kareem, he knows how to debate. 100%. Yes. However, he's now trying to bring that debate and those things and those tactics into the religion and into debating against the haqq. You can't do that. That's a game that you can't win. Fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Stay at your place, yes, and educate yourself and make up your mind. Make up your mind who you want to be with. Make up your mind which path you want to follow. تريد أن تجمع الكل ما يأتي. You can't bring all of it together. You want to appease the Salafis, you want to appease the Hizb al-Tahrir, you want to appease the Dibandis or Dibandi fanboy. هذا ما يجي. This is confusion. These are different paths, okay? They're different firq, yes? And the only firqa is the firqatul najih is those that stick to the way of the Salaf. You can't stick to the way of the Salaf and at the same time be Diobandi, which sometimes innovated. You can't stick to the way of the Salaf and at the same time be Hizb al-Tahrir. It's not possible.
Just one thing I want to point out, because this is something that, from what I understand, is from the shubahat that he was spreading or that was being spoken about, which is the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, أفضل جهاد كلمة عدل عند السلطان جائر. And the best of the forms of jihad is a speech which is true, and it was translated as directed to the Muslim ruler. Whereas inda, right here, everybody understands this is a dharf. Yani, this has to do with being with, directly. You're with the location with the ruler. But they use it and say no to him. So I'm in America, I'm going to talk about somebody in Saudi Arabia, I'm going to talk about somebody in UAE. This is my kalima adl, and they think it's some type of form of jihad, but this is la hada khata. And they understand the nusus based upon their misunderstanding. Like Shaykh Uthaymeen was saying, they understand the nusus, everything they read they think is a proof for them. They understand it in that light because they have this understanding of what they think is correct, when it's based upon falsehood. So we ask Allah Ta'ala to guide us all and rectify the affairs of the Muslims. And just a reminder for all of us not to speak in the religion of Allah Ta'ala without knowledge.
I'm still considering, Akhi, what do you think of actually breaking down that video of his?
You know me, Akhi. You know my opinion on this. My opinion is
I wouldn't have done it. It wasn't for the fact that that last video he's done, he's tried to come across as if it's knowledge based, even though it isn't.
I mean, these things are shubahat for the people who haven't studied like that. And I think it would be of a benefit because it's causing a lot of shubahat at the moment. So if you can go through the main points, that's my opinion. Abdul-Hameed has a different opinion.
Yeah, I have my other opinion. But I mean, listen, فاسألوا أهل الذكر إن كنتم لا تعلمون.
I'll pray istikhara inshallah and seek some advice from the scholars.
So let's jump into the next segment, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, which this is what I was kind of like we've kind of like hinting at the entire podcast up until now, which is our brother Ismaeel Sharpe. Your whole story. What I want you to do is I want you to go through. First off, tell us a little bit about your background, your road to Islam. Obviously, you did some videos on your YouTube channel talking about your Jewish, background as well.
Yeah. Getting
out the music industry. Give us that all within a very concise way that the viewers can benefit from it, inshallah.
Mukhtasar.
Like a mukhtasar, yeah.
Okay, it will be tough.
Because you already did. I think you did hours of this on your
yeah.
on your thing.
Yeah,
so
yeah. Okay, you have to help guide me so I don't babble. Waffle. Yeah. All right. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. So yeah, I'm from Jewish background on my mother's side, Ashkenazi European Jewish, originally from like Austria, Hungary, Poland. They came to London in the 1920s, East London. And so I had a cultural Jewish background that I grew up with, not really religious, secular, liberal, Jewish, very heavily related to belief in Zionism. Zionism being like the creation of an ethno-nationalist so-called Jewish state in Palestine by way of colonialization. So yeah, I had that fikra, that idea, growing up from my family.
And you said this was from your mother's side, huh?
Yeah, from
your
my
father
mother's
was
side.
What?
English Christian background, but secular, agnostic, atheist. I'm not even too sure.
Okay.
But yeah, not religious.
Okay. Gotcha.
Secular.
Gotcha.
And so I had like a bar mitzvah when I was 13, which is like when you become. It's like a rite of passage to become a man. Yeah. In Judaism, and for girls it's called bat mitzvah. Okay. And I visited the so-called state of Israel a few times growing up. I saw the disparity between poverty and affluence between the Gaza and the Israeli side of Jerusalem. Driving alongside the wall, these things affected me. And I was also really into music from a young age. And then I pursued music, and then I went to a music college in London at the age of 16. And so my life was really music. My religion was really music, but I had an ethnic kind of cultural affiliation to Judaism and ideas of Zionism, because I didn't know any better at that particular time. And then I got more into the music industry in London, came out of college, started performing with different artists, went on tour, recorded in various studios and
big artists.
Yeah, the main one when I was very young and I came straight into the music industry was playing drums for Adele Atkins. I knew her in college. She was the year above me, so I played for her on her first album and the first kind of mini tour. And then as you find out quickly in the music industry, our brother Amir spoke about some of these issues and went into depth about these issues. Is that it's cutthroat, doesn't care about you. It's very corrupt. But as a young musician who is naive, you don't really know these things. You don't really know any better. So Adele's manager kind of just sent me a message like after I'd put off my university studies. I didn't. That was my job at the time. It was like, okay, we don't need you anymore. Wow. So I was like, okay, wow. This is how it works. This is how it works. I was 18, I think, or 19 at the time.
And how long was the work, like the trip? Because you was traveling and doing concerts, I'm guessing. So how long does that take?
What do you mean? How long was the stint that I was playing for?
Exactly.
About a year, 6 months to a year.
And then after all of that, you're just like,
I was just in my flat in Camberwell, South London. Like, what am I gonna do?
Surplus to requirements.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
I was like, I literally don't know what I'm gonna do. I quit the uni thing. I'm in a flat. I've got to pay rent, and I don't have a job. And you guys are snakes.
Wow.
That's what I was thinking. Then I was quite active playing for other artists and musicians and stuff. So I thought at that time I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do my own thing. We're gonna put our stuff together, and it's gonna be real music about real issues. Like political issues and XYZ, and we're gonna blow, and that's what I'm gonna concentrate on. So I went into that, got a part-time job in the cinema down the road from me in Brixton. And
then that started to fall apart as far as the industry. The
band.
Yeah.
The thing is, we started to blow actually.
Okay.
And we were starting to get asked to play even around the country, and we're in South London. We were becoming quite well known and asked to headline towards the end, different clubs and venues, and we ended up we went on radio and getting our stuff kind of pushed and getting a name for ourselves. But the more success we were getting, the more socially everything was falling apart.
This is what I meant. You guys together started falling apart somewhere along the line, which led you to Islam.
Which led me to think about what am I doing really? Because as a young teenager or young boy, I looked at these different artists, and they were like astaghfirullah, they're like idols for me. I want to be like that. And then I actually got into the industry where I was, subhanallah, I'm actually, obviously I didn't say subhanallah then, but looking back, I'm actually in this environment and doing that which I used to dream about doing, but there's something not right.
Wow.
Still
missing something.
And the social situations that happen. Musicians are some of the most socially, what's the word? All over the place, let's say, with regards to how they live their lives. Drugs, alcohol, promiscuity, women, all of these things. And it's just like you say, YouTube is a cesspool. Like the lifestyle, generally speaking, of a musician is like you're in a cesspool environment. Wow. Especially in South London, it's like the belly of the beast. Especially when you're
like satanic.
Very shaitani.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Very, very shaitani.
So now you're starting to get away from that life after realizing that there's still something missing. It's not quite what you're feeling.
Yeah, I mean, the more success we got, and I was playing for another artist who did blow, and she got signed, and we went on big tour with her, and there was problems between our group and her group because we were all kind of intermingled, and management issues and beef between manager and that was a big mess. That was towards the end where I just left it and I actually became Muslim. One other thing was that some of the biggest artists that I was into, I saw symbology and I saw links to sihr, Satanism and things like this. So I researched this a bit and I was like, wow, you know what?
Meaning symbology, meaning they were doing different things like as they were dressing or as using hand
signs,
signals or
like symbology, like the one eye and just symbols that we know from sihr.
They would have it like in their concerts.
They have it in their artwork, the album artwork. They'd have it in their concerts. We went on tour with someone called Tiny Temper, and we were playing. Before he played, he at the time, I don't know anymore, if he was a famous rapper in England, went all around America, and he had the VJ would play this sign with the eyes and the triangles, and he'd do almost like a ritual halfway through the concert. And I was in the concert at the time. We were playing before him, and I remember saying to the guy in my group, I was like, this is some Masonic symbology, man. Like, this is weird. Like, this is like a ritual. And he was like laughing at me, like, you conspiracy theorist guy, But I started being aware of this stuff. Now, as a Muslim, I know this is all linked to, taqarrub bil-shayateen and all of these things. And at this time, I also believe I had a kind of realization, or the light bulb turned on, that there is a creator. After watching a documentary. After one of these shows, I'd go home and just relax by myself, watch a little nature documentary and stuff like that,
David Attenborough.
David Attenborough is my guy, bro. He's my guy, yeah.
It's just, I knew that guy, so how he sees all of those things.
Yeah.
And then he still says nature. It's like, Anta wa yashfik.
Allah musta'an. That's a hujjah, akhi. For him or against him, if he takes shahada, inshallah.
I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
Oh, okay. He's a famous British, naturalist. He does lots of documentaries about nature and animals.
You must have seen at least one clip of some of his stuff.
Maybe, I'll show him to you later.
His voice, you recognize his voice.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so you're watching this and you saying there's.
And I'm like, what? Yeah, I was like, it was a BBC thing. It wasn't David Attenborough actually, but it was BBC about the secret life of chaos. It was called, and it was about how order comes out of chaos, supposedly. But they were showing different things, how nature, the patterns in nature coincide. Like, for example, the trees and the veins of a leaf, it's like the same pattern as the arteries in the human body. Even the way that the stars are laid out, and correlation with the way that sand dunes are formed from the wind, like things that are like, these are ayat from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I recognized that these are ayat, these are signs from a higher power. And it's like, bang, okay, there's a creator, no doubt. And then it was like, okay, should I follow the Judaism thing? Let me get a Torah translation. I read a bit of that. I was like, nah, it's not resonating with me at all. Put that on the shelf. Life became a bit more dysfunctional, more problems. A friend gave me a translation of the Quran, brother from a Somali background, not practicing at the time. He gave me a Quran. I read that, and then bang, that was it. Really hit me. You know, it really hit me, and that was at a time where I was at my most low.
Were you still in the band at this particular juncture?
I was, I was, but things have fallen apart. We were about to blow, to be honest with you, you know. But things had got bad between me and the MC, and yeah, it was a mess.
It was just chaotic.
It was chaotic, yeah. So
then you become Muslim, and this is in South London.
It's in South London, yeah.
Jameel.
How did you become? Is it just that translation of the Quran that or
there were certain things, like the turning point was when I picked up the translation, but there were certain things that I saw in because I was working in Brixton. I was living between Brixton and Peckham, and there's a lot of Muslims, alhamdulillah, in Brixton, and I used to go and get lunch at a Moroccan van, and I liked the way that I could see the brothers giving salams to each other. Like this brother will give salam to a Jamaican brother. This brother will give salam to a Pakistani, Somali, like it's all mixed, all inclusive. I grew up hating racism, you know. So I saw this, I was like, wow, this is really looks like a way of bridging that gap between different nations and races and tribes and stuff like that, you know, as Allah mentions in the Quran, subhanallah. And so that attracted me. Also, the individual that gave me the translation of the Quran, he was like kind of on the roads a bit, and he was not practicing at all, but he ended up going for Hajj and then came back like a new person, like white phobe, not swearing, calm, relaxed. And I was like, I like this guy's akhlaq, you know. I like his akhlaq, and that affected me, and I preferred him like as that person to spend time with him than the party road guy that, you know, I knew previously. So that really had an effect. But it was the Quran, and then also I had lunch with a Sudani family that I just met on the road in Peckham. The father invited me in because I had a question, and their akhlaq and adab was like, wow, this is different. You
just
know,
invited you to his house, just like that.
Yeah,
stranger, mashallah.
Exactly. Yeah. So,
which obviously is completely different from our cultures growing up in the West. Like having a stranger invite you to his house, a personal area, it's like unheard of. Yeah. And he just meets you. Yeah. He just meets you and brings you in for dinner. Yeah. Same day.
Exactly. In Peckham, of all places, in one of the worst parts of Peckham, you know, if you know this road.
What made you say yes to that? I'm thinking.
Actually, I was lost at the time. I was like, okay, this Quran, this is something. I feel different. I feel good. Like, for the first time in a long time. I was like, okay, lead me, lead me to your house and teach me your ways.
Subhanallah,
you know what I mean? I was just ready, bro. This is hidayah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
And then how long after that before you became Muslim? After
it was about the next day, I believe, from that situation. The next day, because their family, they gave me some DVDs and like some da'wah material. I listened to that. I was like, yeah,
this is it.
Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillah.
But what we benefit from this is that guidance to Islam, or even guidance to any sort of haqq, it's a journey. It's something that for the most part it takes time, and I think a lot of people they overlook this. They overlook that this person that they're dealing with, even though he's non-Muslim, right? The good akhlaq that you show him, and the actions which speak louder than words that you show him from your religion. He might not turn around right away and be like, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah Rasulullah, but that will stick with him. And he'll see it from Abdul-Hameed, and then he'll see it from someone else, and all these things, they come together so that he eventually has a picture of Islam. And the first time he sees it from someone, he might be like, that's just a nice guy. But then another Muslim, until he starts making the connection, it must be their religion that teaches them this. So all of us play our little roles in this, in the way we deal with people. Tiny things that, you know, you might overlook. Like, for example, something happened to me, for example, you go to a bakery, right? And you buy something, and the cashier gives you change more than what he or she is meant to give you. So they give you like an extra £2 or £3. And then you like walk out of the bakery and then you check like, oh no, actually there's extra money. You go back and give it back to them. There's something small to you, but something big to them, especially when they see you with a big beard.
I mean, upholding your Islamic, you know, your Islamic manner, right? Sticking to Quran and Sunnah and like actually living it. You have no idea who that might have an effect on. I mean, like you said, the brother came back from making Hajj.
Hajj.
And he completely changed. And he wasn't ashamed, from what I'm understanding from your story. He wasn't ashamed to show this is my new akhlaq. I'm living this different way. And by way of that, it affected you. So it's like you never know where the guidance of Allah Ta'ala is going to come from. And now we have a lot of times we see the opposite. People want to lower their Islamic morals to please the kuffar. When really, just be yourself and uphold Quran and Sunnah, and that's going to be more intriguing to them.
That's true.
Which brings me to another, very important point, really important point. And this is actually when it comes to actually giving da'wah. There are people out there who are praised for the amount of shahadas they've given, for example, when it comes to da'wah, right? Even though their ways and the way they give da'wah is really bad. Yes, and they conduct themselves in a very childish, very bad manner, and they get into argumentation and stuff. Unfortunately, for us, or for the people, they just look at, oh, look, 100 people, 200-300 people became Muslim because of him. But you don't know how many people got put off from Islam because of him. You know? So just because we can't justify now his conduct, which is in opposition to the Sunnah, in opposition to the way of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we can't now sugarcoat and be like, oh, but it's okay, you know, he's giving 5, 6, 7 shahadas a week. That's when it comes to Islam. Same thing when it comes to Salafiyah. People will be like, oh, look, this person has been giving da'wah for 30 years. Thousands of people became Salafi because of him. Okay, that's what you can see, right? But this conduct of his, this harshness of his, the way he is dealing with people is not in accordance to the Sunnah. And we cannot sugarcoat and be like, oh, but you know, even though his approach is wrong, at least the result is there. La, Allah is the one that guides. That's one thing. And secondly, you can see those who became Salafi because of him. But do you know how many people got put off from Salafi because of him? That's not something tangible, is it? So we need to be more conscious of how we conduct ourselves. Because just the way that we might guide someone to Islam, or Allah might guide someone to Islam through us, because of the way we conduct ourselves. Likewise, someone might be put off from Islam because of the way we conduct ourselves. And I found this benefit in a verse in Surah Al-Nahl. I just want to share this. Wallah, it's an amazing benefit found in Tafseer Muyassar. Allah says in the Quran, وَلَا تَتَّخِذُوا أَيْمَانَكُمْ دَخَلًا بَيْنَكُمْ فَتَزِلَّ قَدَمٌ بَعْدَ ثُبُوتِهَا وَتَذُوقُوا السُّوءَ بِمَا صَدَدتُّمْ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ وَلَكُمْ عَذَابٌ عَظِيمٌ. Allah says, do not make your oaths as a source of income. Don't take it as a source of income, such that the feet might slip after they were firm. In other words, don't lie and deceive people for the sake of money. Bad conduct, basically, okay? Deception. Allah says, don't do that, so that the feet might not slip after that. And Allah says, so that you don't taste the torment and punishment because of the way that you stood in between the people and the way of Allah. Do you see the connection? How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning in this ayah that your deception is saddun an sabilillah. Your deception, you'll be punished. Not just for your deception, but also because of the way that you stood in between the people and the way of Allah because of your bad conduct. And that's why many places in the Quran, what do the mu'minun say? لا تجعلنا فتنة للقوم الكافرين. لا لهم the Muslimin. Oh Allah, don't make us a fitna for the disbelievers. Such that the disbeliever continues upon his kufr. Because I was a fitna to him. We need to think. We can be a fitna for the.
I used to try and understand that ayah, subhanAllah.
لا تجعلنا فتنة للقوم, يعني don't make us a fitna for the disbelievers, such that they continue upon their kufr, and then on the day of judgment they say, oh Allah, we didn't accept the Islam because of your servant has done X, Y, and Z. That put us off from your religion.
Imagine.
And now you're a fitna for these people, subhanAllah.
Imagine thinking that you're doing some type of Khair.
Yeah.
Or you're just doing shar.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're trying to take this path that you think is the best way when Allah Ta'ala has already designated for you a path. And because of you avoiding his path, you're actually blocking people from the path directly.
Yeah. You're not acting according to Islam. And we know how in the seerah or in the books of history they mentioned that East Asia, that whole area, they became Muslim because of some of the good conduct of some of the Sahaba that went there as salesmen. And imagine that. If we just go into a fantasy world, we try to imagine. I'm not gonna say all Muslims. Imagine just a fraction, 20% of the Muslimun in the West lived according to Islamic values the way they should. What effect would that have on those communities? Just something for thought.
When I hear that ayah, it reminds me of the sidq of the Quran. You know how truthful is Allah's speech, subhanallah, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is rebuking the mu'mineen, the Muslims, where someone, let's say a non-Muslim who is biased, they could say, oh, you know, your Quran and your religion is all biased towards you, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is directing us and rebuking us for maybe falling into bad akhlaq. There will be a harm to the non-Muslims. That's subhanallah.
Subhanallah, yeah.
That's quite
beautiful.
So fast forwarding, so now you've left the industry. You know, you're on this path, you're Muslim now. I don't want to talk too much about how you got to Saudi Arabia yet, because it's connected to one of our questions that we're going to take.
Okay.
So now you're in Saudi though.
Yeah.
And this is where it leads us to your magister.
Okay.
Right. So can you tell us a little bit about that, the master's program, and what you did with that?
Yeah. So after 3 years of taking Shahada, I came to Saudi Arabia. I wanted to do Talabul Ilm. Tried Medina, wanted to go to the Majd. There's a war, couldn't go. Came to Saudi, and one of Medina, I couldn't get into Medina. It wasn't written for me. Qaddar Allah ma sha fa'al. So I came on the path to Saudi as a teacher, and then to like kind of cement my stay here, and to get more opportunities working here. I took a master's. And my master's was related to teaching English as a foreign language, but I went into like a takhassus of ideology and language, and specifically how languages can be used as tools of power, tools of colonialism, tools of control. So the main takhassus, the main specific issue that I went into is called linguistic imperialism, which me and the brother Abdul Walis have spoken about in depth, and for years we've been wanting to do something about this. Yeah, so alhamdulillah,
I mean,
it's happening
the
today.
first time I heard this word, akhi, subhanallah, it captivated me, subhanallah. We went on an Umrah trip, us three, and was it us three? Some four?
Khalil was with us.
Khalil, yeah. How's he doing, man?
He's good, alhamdulillah.
Mashallah. So we went on an Umrah trip, I remember, to Mecca. And we had this conversation.
Yeah.
You mentioned this linguistic imperialism, and just for the record, I've told you as well that that was a turning point for me.
Yes.
For me, that was a turning point because, you know, it was just before I started my YouTube channel and I started giving durus and the likes. And obviously, you know, that big question was on my mind. What am I going to teach? What am I going to focus on? There's so many people giving da'wah. What can I bring to the table? And this was a turning point for me because first, I'll let you explain what it is.
I was going to say that. Maybe explain to the listeners first.
And then I'll tell you how that
exactly
had affected.
Okay, so it's all related to imperialism and colonialism, which is similar, really. And that is like broken down simply like a foreign power, foreign empire that wants to exact control on other countries. An empire that wants to exact control on like foreign countries. Colonialism, usually in the past it was militarily, so they're going with armies, take over the country. We've taken control of this land, you're going to live by our rules, you're going to learn how we learn, and we're going to civilize you with regards to our morals. So Western colonialism, going into places like the French, going into Algeria, they came with that civilizing mission of we need to civilize these non-white savages.
Yeah, most of Africa, pretty much.
Most of Africa, India, you know, even the Native Americans,
exactly,
Aboriginal, you know, like the whole world. Basically.
It's happening. Yeah.
So this is colonialism, and then there's like neo-colonialism, which is more through ideological warfare. Through, you know, they may use the media, like. What's the guy called? The ex-president of the so-called state of Israel was talking about how to influence Iran. Just beam satellite. They got satellite channels. Beam information about how lucky Western women are and free, and you know, eventually the society will change. You know, this is a form of cultural imperialism.
It's probably got effect to do what's happening now there.
Yeah. Probably. Yeah. And
just
so
pushing propaganda.
Yeah, that's right. Country. Yeah. So, and then there's also economic sanctions and embargoes where you're doing something I don't like. We're going to cut off all your aid, even if you know half the country starves to death. And you know,
that's economical.
That's economic. Like,
so we have the ideological one.
You have the ideological,
which is through media and what have you. You have the economic one.
The
one by force, obviously they used to do before.
Yeah. And of course they still will resort to force if they don't get what they want. You know. Anyway, linguistic imperialism is now like where language is used. So they'll use a language and make that language the dominant language in the area, so they can teach their ideas. You know, and the institutions are all based upon people who speak that language. Let's say if they come into power, and English linguistic imperialism is, you know, what we see happening in many parts of the Middle East. It's happened all around the world, but it's poignant for us as Muslims because it's happening in the Middle East, where English is kind of being propped up as a superior language. And of course, when you learn a language, you learn a culture. Of course, you know. So people are looking at English as the superior language, the key to, you know, prosperity, and they call it cultural social power. So if you know English, you're a bit higher in status, you know. And subsequently, knowledge of Arabic is decreasing. So in my research, I saw that there's places in the Middle East where Arab kids, they can't even explain the body parts in Arabic anymore because they've been in schools where it's EMI, English as a medium of instruction, and that has harmed their mother tongue, their Arabic, you know. And then they get to a certain level where many Arab students, native-speaking Arabic students, prefer to read books in English because they understand it better, and they leave off reading books in Arabic. And then that's a disaster for us when it comes to learning our deen, because Lughat al-Arabiya is the key to ilm, you know.
So they're basically now. So how does it obviously relate to what we were talking about? Is because
his topic reminds me of the what is it, the Art of War, that book. Different strategies of war.
Bro.
You sound
anyway. Obviously, like I said, we all want to bring something to the table to help the ummah. The ummah is suffering, and we all agree that the solution to the ummah suffering is knowledge. Nobody can disagree with that. But the issue is that there's a barrier between people and knowledge, and that barrier is not understanding Arabic. Which makes them then having to rely on translators and what have you, which has its own issues, right? And an example I give for that, actually, when it comes to translators, relying on translators, we all know that Ibn al-Qayyim said that knowledge is more important than the air that you breathe, right? So imagine if you are on some sort of life support machine, and some guy sitting next to you who's controlling the oxygen that you breathe. How comfortable would you feel? You wouldn't, right? So how do some people then feel comfortable, to rely on a translator for their religion? That he controls what you hear and what gets to you from the scholar. So this is crazy. But this is the reality. This is basically our reality in the West. Okay? So there are two, obviously. Yours research was about how it's affecting Muslim countries. So that's obviously something very important. Allah musta'an. May Allah rectify the affairs. But let's talk about what this is having as an effect in the West. Because unfortunately, this linguistic imperialism, if you like, some of us as Tullab ilm or as du'at, we're kind of perpetuating it and allowing it to continue when we should actually face it
and
try and eradicate it.
Meaning by not teaching Arabic. That's what you're saying.
Two things. By not teaching Arabic or focusing on teaching Arabic, and also by trying to translate everything in the Islamic knowledge into English.
Yeah.
So that you kind of like give the people the impression that, hey, you don't need to learn Arabic to become a student of knowledge.
Just rely on this.
So just rely on this. You want to learn Ilm al-Hadith? It's been translated. You want to learn Usul al-Fiqh? It's been translated. So now you have universities, akhi. Universities, Islamic universities, where EMI, like you just mentioned, first time I heard that word, where the English is the medium of instruction. Islamic university. هذا ما يصلح. نعم, if you want to learn what you have to know in your religion, how to pray, you want to learn your Lord, about your I'm not going to say to you, okay, don't learn your aqidah and the fiqh that you need until you learn Arabic. La. Okay, learn what you have to learn in order to get closer to your Lord and fulfill your wajib. But if you want to become a student of knowledge, you're not going to become a student of knowledge without learning Arabic. So that, for me, that realization was that, look, I can go back and just follow the status quo and just do what everybody else is doing. We just translate books and teach durus in English.
Read a book, translate. Read a book,
Read a book,
translate.
translate.
As
Yes.
you're teaching.
Yes. Or even help with translating more books.
I mean, how much of the deen is based upon memorizing mutun in Arabic?
Yeah.
You know, so what, you're going to just translate the mutun and...
Not even no, they translate everything. I mean, this day and age,
No, they
everything
do,
gets
yeah.
translated.
But it's
you know?
like, that's like a really important part of how the knowledge is transmitted from generation to generation.
Yeah.
Hifz.
Definitely.
You know,
So, yeah,
it's
I
a
mean,
harm
some people, they memorize even in English. Yeah, sometimes they memorize the text in English as well. Anyway, long story short, point is, you go back and you just follow the status quo. Yes, and you just do what everybody else is doing. But then I thought to myself, and Allāhu a'lam, I don't know if you agree, but if we as students of knowledge spend more time on actually teaching Arabic or creating resources for learning Arabic, as opposed to spending all of that time and effort into translating books, I think that will give better returns for multiple reasons. One of the reasons being, like the famous Chinese proverb goes, give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach him how to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. Now this person, instead of teaching him book after book after book, translating for him, put some effort into actually teaching him Arabic, so that tomorrow he can go and benefit from the scholars himself. Now you've really empowered the person. Right? So for me, Naam, I do teach maybe some aqidah books here and there. So like we said, for the need. But, and I even put on my Patreon as well, my life mission is just to teach Arabic or create resources, learning resources that people can use in order to learn Arabic and make it easier for them to learn. And obviously I hope more students of knowledge join me in that mission as well.
I personally believe that everybody in the communities, especially amongst the Talaba and specifically, have a particular, I mean all Muslims generally have a particular role to play, but all Tulab also have a particular role to play, which is being that bridge between the people and getting them to a state where they can worship Allah Ta'ala upon basira. And that needs to be our understanding, which as far as moving da'wah. We're not giving da'wah just simply to be here and they come back to us as a marji'. You know, and I think some people get this misunderstood to the point even
what's
like
marji'? Sorry.
A reference point. Even to the point, even, and this is to even my beloved subscribers in the Telegram group channel, I'm not a marji'. So sometimes they ask you questions and it's like, this is for a scholar. These are things that, and I think this is your ultimate point, which is get them to learn Arabic so they can be able to ask the scholars themselves,
go directly
and
to
derive things from other books. You know, and this is something which is very important. I think, and this is the point that I'm trying to get at, all the students, for example, whether you're teaching Arabic, whether you're teaching the basics of aqidah, the basics of tajweed, the basics of, you know, akhlaq, whatever the case may be, it should never be the goal is, I'm just going to try to teach everything. And in English and Arabic, and they all just going to just, I have a library now that they can come back and see that I taught everything and things like that. We should begin teaching them the most important things so that they can move forward.
And then help them, empower them.
And empower them
so that they can become students of knowledge, so that they can go back and benefit their communities. I mean,
so there's nothing wrong, like I said it to say, like there's nothing wrong with a community where, for example, let's say we're all in a community, right? You're teaching Arabic in that community, okay? Which is giving them the basis to be able to move forward. Somebody's teaching aqidah and Quran in a community. Then you got another brother who might be a worker teaching people, you know, other aspects of it. This is a community. This is how it works. There can never be one person doing one particular situation. We need everybody collectively to come together with the same goal, which is to please Allah Ta'ala, getting them to that point.
I mean, all of those other things you've mentioned, they're there. But after I had this conversation with Brother Ismaeel, and he mentioned this whole linguistic imperialism things, which we shouldn't be oblivious to, and that's important why we're talking about this. Know that one of the weapons in the arsenal of our enemy, is to keep you ignorant of the Arabic language. It's 100%. One of their strategies. Definitely. It's one of the things they want to keep. So it only makes sense that we, as Muslims, we face that issue and we try to reverse that issue by making sure as many of us learn Arabic as possible.
But what you said, all these things are there. Explain. What exactly?
Like what I mean is, in the communities, you have people teaching Aqidah, you have people teaching fiqh and all these sort of things. But
I have to push back on that, Akhi. You know, I'm متخصص in Aqidah.
Yeah. I'd
have to say that I don't believe we have enough people teaching proper Aqidah. And I think the evidence of that is how many of our youth are going to atheism now. How many of our youth are leaving the deen? How many of the youth or even communities, when they hear the word Salaf or Salafi or Shaykh Muhammad Abdul Wahhab, are automatically turned off? Why? It's because of a wrong understanding in Aqidah, a wrong understanding in Tawheed, a wrong understanding of what the Quran and Sunnah calls to. So I do believe, personally, like again, I think all of these sciences are very, very important. Obviously, there's going to be some that are more important, right?
Are you talking about teaching in English?
I'm talking about anything. Teaching in English, teaching whatever. I'm saying what I'm trying to say is they're all very important.
No, I don't disagree with it. That's not what my point is. What I meant is, I agree with you absolutely. There's not enough people teaching Aqidah, 100%. And we can never teach Aqidah enough. That's the main thing. What I mean is, the realization is there at least. The importance of teaching Aqidah. But what I was trying to say is that after I had the conversation with the brother, kind of like opened up a completely new perspective to me of, wait a minute, we need to treat teaching Arabic more as a form of da'wah as well. Just like the way we're teaching everything else. It needs to have a bit more attention as well as a sort of investment, if you like. Okay, you might not get the fruits straight away, right? But specifically, if this individual that you're teaching Arabic already knows the basics of his Aqidah, he knows some fiqh, then to unlock the next level.
That's what I was going to say, actually. Like, obviously, there's a stage, like, let's say for a new Reaver or someone who's newly practicing from a Muslim family, where they're going to need those integral bits of information to do with Aqidah and Manhaj before learning the Arabic. Or even if the Arabic is with it, ideally that would be great, but you need certain...
No, definitely.
You know a beautiful way to put this all together
Go on.
is the way Shaykh Uthaymeen rahimahullah ta'ala taught. Go look at his books. Why are they so big the way they are, and it seems like so extensive and in-depth? Look at simply look at Surah Thalatha. Pick any book you want. You won't go through a chapter except that he's breaking down the language.
Definitely.
He's breaking down the masdar. He's breaking down the fi'l. He's breaking down the connection. I've seen Shaykh Salih al-Usaymi, hafidhullah ta'ala, he does the same thing with mufradat, and breaking down the language so that you're grasping and getting it. This connects people to even want to learn Arabic even more, because you realize you can't fully understand this. And this is why I believe in Shaykh al-Islam's opinion. You can't fully understand it until you grasp that. Once you understand some of these terminology, like look at Shaykh Uthaymeen's Tafseer specifically, it's like a whole new world opens up to you. It's not simply like some explanation like you've seen before. This is like another level, and it's because of the Arabic being connected to it. The asl, kalam Allah.
I mean, for the most part, that conversation was a turning point. But there's other factors as well, which is, I noticed that brothers would call me or they would message me asking for a fatwa. Right? They're asking for a question. An answer to a question. Obviously, I'm not a person of fatwa. They say, ask the scholars for me. Right? So I just turn into this middleman. Go to Shaykh Ali, the brother said, and then the Shaykh tells me in Arabic, and then I translate it. Or sometimes I go to the Shaykh bin Baz website, and I basically translate his question into Arabic. Then I find Shaykh bin Baz's answer. Then I translate that back, send back with the link as well. This is what the article says. I'm like, wait a minute. Yani, can't this be, is this really all we're doing? If this is all we're doing, then why not spend more time teaching people Arabic, who then in turn can also help teach other people Arabic, and sort of build this community and this sort of like, if you like, community effort of teaching each other Arabic. So that, and this, I think you mentioned this before, language shift. Maybe you can touch on that. Yeah.
Okay.
Before you go into that, I wanted to just say or ask you, do you think that will ever stop though?
What?
People coming and asking you questions.
No, it won't stop. It won't stop. But it will definitely, more people that know Arabic, yes, the less the demand will be and more people will benefit.
Yes, I think that the point, like I think that what you're saying is correct.
Yeah.
But generally as a talib al-ilm and as, ambassadors, to what we have learned and trying to give back, there's always going to be people that's going to continue. Probably by the thousands or hundreds. What we can, what we could do is, again, making sure that our intentions is to not allow that person to remain in that position.
Yeah, exactly.
You get what I'm saying? So as we're teaching aqidah, as we're teaching anything, even if as we're answering a fatwa from one of the mashayikh, something, translating something, you're not supposed to be with me longer than this amount of time.
And also to
right now
empower
you're on a layover.
Yeah.
Right? This is a layover right now.
Yeah.
You came to me, a layover, but I don't want you staying here.
Yeah.
I want you to depart to this area.
Yeah.
And
take from where we took.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So as long as we continue to have them people with a influx that comes in, it then goes. Influx comes and goes.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. And I think that's where it's going to be, generally speaking.
Like
they're going to make your life easier, Akhad.
Yeah.
But my brother's going to come back tomorrow 4 years later.
Exactly.
And now you can be like, I don't have time. Ask Fulan.
Exactly. And then having the people come in and then they're just staying right there on that island. You got an influx of all these people.
Yeah.
And then now it's like, oh, I'm the translator and I do this and I,
Yeah.
you made yourself a marji'.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the main problems is that people is us ourselves, like let's say those who want to learn Islam, is laziness, and wanting to make that step, or not making sufficient effort to go on the path to learn
100%,
Arabic.
100%.
Because I remember when I used to start learning Arabic back in UK, and we've all seen this. The lesson will start out full, and then each week it will decrease until it's just you and another brother left.
Yeah.
And this is not a problem with the teachers. This is a problem with the students. And everyone has their situation, their specific situation.
There are multiple reasons to that, but that's a topic for another day.
Okay.
I get what you're saying.
What I would want to touch on is some of the audience or viewers might be like, yeah, but Ustadh, that is too aspirational. Yani, really, you want us to believe that in the West we can kind of have like a community of people or cities where people are just Arab community whereby, and this is the important part, because we've seen this. We've seen translators. And this was a turning point as well, actually. When I heard a translator mistranslating what the Shaykh said on air live in the masjid. So this translator asked the Shaykh a question. Okay, and he's asking a question about someone else he has an issue with. So he formulated his own the question, asked the Shaykh in Arabic. Shaykh answered exactly in accordance to what his opponent or the person he has issues with, what he was propagating. So it's basically against his agenda.
The translator.
He literally butchered the answer. Added things from his own pocket.
So you're saying the Shaykh was not having it?
No, the Shaykh didn't know. The Shaykh's oblivious. The Shaykh don't know English. But I've listened to that clip, and I was like, wow, to this level. I mean, I knew there was some level of filtering. We all know that there's what I call selective export. There's some kind of selective export of choosing what to translate and leaving off everything else. We knew that's been happening for decades. But to actually mistranslate what the Shaykh said live while he's sitting right next to you with the audience, this is another level of deception, so another level of showing how dangerous it is to rely on translators.
You're saying that the Shaykh, he gave a response that the translator
didn't suit him.
Yeah. So he
mistranslated
it.
Yeah, mistranslated it. He left out the most important points and he added his own explanation within the Shaykh's answer. Okay, I mean, I think there might be clips out there. No need to mention names, but the point is, yes, this is also something that's happening. So, am I too aspirational? I mean, according to your experience, and I think you mentioned before something called language shift, is that possible? Is it possible that you end up with some communities in the West whereby you walk into this city and that Salafi community, I'm not saying all of them, but the vast majority of them know Arabic to the extent that no translator can get away with
That type of stuff.
That type of stuff.
I mean, it is possible because history has attested to this. Like if you look at Imam al-Bukhari, Tirmidhi, these were not Arabs. They were from Bukhara. Or they were from lands that they didn't speak Arabic originally.
Yeah.
So there was language shift that happened in those places.
So what's language shift for those that don't know it?
Language. Okay, so there's language deaf, which is when like a dominant language comes in your linguistic imperialism. English comes into a place, and then the native language is kind of pushed out. English is used in all the establishments until that language can die. And that's happened to different nations in the past, and
but
it's
it won't happen
today.
to Arabic, obviously.
It won't happen to Arabic because
Allah
it's protected.
is protected.
But there's a language shift in certain places happening with Arabic, whereby the language is shifting from Arabic to English. You know, in some of the Khaliji countries.
Yeah.
This
the
has
opposite also happened?
Alhamdulillah.
I mean, the opposite has happened, obviously, from some language to Arabic. I think has happened in all of the Arabic countries.
Yeah.
Because most of these countries that we call today the Arab League today, most of them are not ethnically Arabic. But the Arabic language entered their countries.
Yeah.
They became Arabic speakers.
Well, they said Mu'arrab.
Mu'arrab. Yeah.
Arabized.
So it is possible. I mean, I know for a fact from our experience at the university, the African brothers, wallah, I respect them. Because we from Westerners, we come together, we speak English. But the African brothers, when they're together, they still speak Arabic. You know, they walk past you, they're speaking Arabic. To the extent that in their countries, you'll find African countries where this language shift has actually happened. Like in Tanzania, for example, you'll find people, a lot of them, they know Arabic, other countries as well, where this language shift has happened. So it's possible,
No, it's possible.
There's hope.
It's possible. Obviously,
language shift in the UK and America, inshallah.
But Tanzania also has a lot of Arabs living there, though, right?
It's got a big Islamic history. That's what I was going to say. Like the language shifts that have happened, like with regards to Arabic, like in Bukhara and stuff like that. Obviously, the
influx,
the khulafa and stuff, they went in there militarily and XYZ. So obviously, there's different situations where it can happen. But if there's a bi'ah or an atmosphere of ilm and love for learning Arabic, and that spreads amongst the tulab in the West and the people who are wanting to learn more about their religion, then definitely it could become a language of certain communities, you know. And then we've seen this in different places around the world as well. Like subhanallah, even like here when you go to certain istirahat, like how would you say istiraha, like a
outing, like
out areas,
like a chalet type thing. Sometimes we get
chalets,
together in these places. You got brothers from Russia, France, UK, America, and what's our medium of instruction or our medium of communication? We're all speaking to each other in Arabic. You know? You see in certain micro settings that you have this taking place. Alhamdulillah, that the language that binds us all is Lughat al-Arabiya. You know, and this can happen in UK.
Well, there has to be more awareness. Hopefully today's episode helps in that, raising more awareness in the importance of learning Arabic in order to spread Tawheed, to spread the religion, to spread Khair, and to combat the agendas of these enemies of Islam, who for them they would love the Arabic language to be forgotten.
One point that I just want to mention that I read during my research was, you know, if you see what France did in Algeria, it's like horrific, you know. So firstly, they can't say anything to anybody about morality, abadan. Secondly, it's like
they're still doing, by the way, in some countries.
Secondly, when they came to Algeria, they came with a missionary mission, a colonial mission to civilize them. You know, after it was more Enlightenment philosophy, not Christianity. They wanted to give them enlightened, liberal ideas. And they wanted to educate them, so they said. But the thing is, at that time in Algeria, the literacy rate amongst the Algerians was higher than that in France, because of Islamic knowledge, because of Arabic, sarf, nahu. They were, even the people in the countryside and the villages were literate. When France left, their literacy rate was way down. So they didn't want to educate them. They wanted to take away their knowledge of Arabic, their knowledge of their knowledge of al-Islam, and even obviously we have a huge amongst the Arabs, a huge history of of mathematics, knowledge of maths, science, tib, medicine. So these things were all high in these countries amongst the people, but they came when they were not even literate themselves, trying to teach them something that they didn't have.
So basically they took the knowledge, stole the knowledge, they translated it to English. Okay, maybe added to
French.
it as well. Not even French. I mean, just generally speaking, if you go back to you know, from the Islamic, if you like, period, to like after the Crusades and the like, they took all of that knowledge, translated it to the whatever languages, added to it, of course. You know, we're not gonna deny that, But then now what they've done is having this lingua franca, making English the world's language.
World language,
So that now,
what is it called? What is it called?
Lingua franca.
Lingua franca.
That
means
the dominant language or the global language. I'm not translating it like word for word, but that's what's entailed by the meaning.
So they made English that, and now to the extent that now people that speak Arabic are like, hey, you can't really become a doctor unless you learn English. But they're forgetting one thing. They're forgetting that this knowledge that they're now teaching English, they took it from you. They took it from the Muslims aslan.
To a large extent.
And even that is not true. I mean, in Syria and these other countries, language of instruction is Arabic, and they have they have the best dentists. They've got a lot of well qualified at-Tibyān. So even that it's a false premise. So just Allāhu musta'an. It's from their plots, but Allah is the best of plotters, and we have to do our best to combat that. That's why Taqī ad-ddīn al-Hilāli has got a book called Taqweem al-Lisānayn, where he talks about correcting the language. It's a very beautiful book, and he used to focus on a lot, and he used to know multiple languages. He was what they call a polyglot. He's got like 7 languages, I think. So Allāhu musta'an.
Jazakallah khair. That's why we wanted you to come on, man. That's a very important topic that the audience needs to be aware of. You know, knowing about these type of things and the plots of these disbelievers, and how maybe even Muslims are aiding knowingly or unknowingly to this type of loss of the Arabic language. Allāhu musta'an.
It is, I mean, the shahid about that is that this is a tool, this is a weapon that is being used to spread the ideas of the enemies of Islam. They talk about it openly in their books. You can research this mas'ala, and we have to be aware of it.
100%.
We have to be aware of it.
It's not secret.
You know? It's not secret.
And
it's happening, sadly.
It has happened.
It has happened,
Allāhu musta'an. So moving forward, we had a Q&A, and we're only going to take one question this week, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, for the sake of time. And also, I think, because we dive a little bit more in depth into these topics, the Q&A section can't be filled with just question after question after question, which I prefer it that way, to be honest.
Something else to give out.
I like to just keep the conversation going. So anyway, on the question, the person asked, I think this was a question sent to me on Twitter, I believe. Assalamu alaikum akhi. I was hoping you and your future podcast can discuss the topic of making hijrah to Saudi for the purpose of deen, but also seeking and gaining employment. So I think the obvious reason of why I chose this question is because we have somebody here who's on employment, and then we got somebody else, other people here who are here for knowledge. But before jumping into the question, I mean, the whole hijrah topic, I think that needs to be dealt with in a completely different episode, because there's a lot of things that are surrounding around hijrah. I mean, maybe this brother didn't even mean hijrah. Maybe he meant just moving to Saudi. But hijrah, any shar'i understanding of it, meaning going to a country, not returning to your old country, having, the ability to do so. This is something that needs to be looked into in depth, because there's a lot of things that are surrounding around it that now in this day and age with passports and documentation and visas that weren't previously there. So let's address it from the aspects of moving to Saudi. Let's
not hijrah
in particular. And for the purpose of religion. Tayyib. So
because once I think like you said, once you leave your country with the intention of hijrah, you can't go back.
Exactly.
So you can't like have that intention, then come to Saudi, and then when your employment contract is over, now you're stuck. Now you're gonna have to find a third country.
Exactly.
You can't go back to the country you've left.
You find yourself continuing to be on the move with your family, your kids, uprooting, then moving, then uprooting, then moving. And I think the understanding and the logic behind why we need to deal with this in a more specific way is kind of clear to the viewers and listeners.
Yeah, we're not saying it's impossible to make hijrah to Saudi.
Not saying
it might be possible certain circumstances, but it shouldn't be the first move.
This is where me and you go back and forth.
Yeah.
So there's this the way that I look at things is there's possibility, then there's probability. So possibility, sure, we could say it's possible to become an astronaut. We could say it's possible to become a king. We say it's possible to, do as you please, right? Probable is the way I like to address topics, because is it likely that it can be done in this way? Can it fit the general masses? Can it? So this is why
you explain the situation. For example, as you all know, the golden visa, whatever they call it. If you're rich, if you have money, you can buy.
He's taking us on it.
You can buy your iqama in Saudi.
Let's start with the hadith, I think, first about hijrah. Let's start with that and then work from there.
Yeah, as in the importance of it, or
it will remain till Qiyamah.
Yeah, of course. I mean, hijrah would remain. We're talking about Saudi in particular, but definitely 100%. Hijrah is something that is legislated
100%.
And will be there until the day of judgment. But what is hijrah anyway? Hijrah is to leave a place, non-Muslim country or even Muslim country, if you can't practice your religion. That's the qaid, the scholars they put. A place where you can't practice your religion to a place where you can. That's why the Sahaba. You have
the ability as well. That's
you have the ability.
You have the qudra, which is to make the hijrah.
Yeah, I'm talking about the actual meaning of it, because a lot of people they think hijrah is only from non-Muslim country to Muslim country. Faqat. La. Because the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they made hijrah to Abyssinia, to Ethiopia.
Exactly.
And that wasn't a Muslim country at that time. Right? So that was considered hijrah. And then they made hijrah to Medina. So hijrah is to leave a place where you can't practice your religion to a place where you can.
Exactly.
It could even be within the same country. It doesn't have to be across borders. It could be that this city that you live in, there are no Muslims there, and you find difficulty in practicing your religion, there's no masajid. So you leave that city to another city where you can. Okay? I'm not going to say it's going to be hijrah as in the Shar'i term, right? And that all of the rulings or the, if you like, the rewards of it apply to it. That has its conditions. I'm talking about the general meaning. Yeah. The general meaning of hijrah. But then to Saudi in particular, maybe we shouldn't say a particular country.
Leave it I'm.
Let's just talk about moving to Saudi. You want to be practical?
That's what I said. Yeah, that's why.
Probable, practical. Let's stick to moving to Saudi.
That's why I said I don't even think we should look at it as far as the hijrah, because that word, it has so much weight. Yeah. There's so much into that one word, hijrah. And it needs to be broken down, shar'i, the understanding of it, establishing it, is ruling it, how to apply it, the practicality of it. Needs to be dealt with.
Even masail.
And honestly, in all honesty, there's some things connected to the hijrah that myself, I need to go back to the scholars and figure out. Yeah. In this day and age, which I've heard, I've been in some sittings with a few scholars, and we discussed the hijrah aspects of it, but a little bit more detail before jumping into it, and because this is a big thing.
It's own episode.
So it's its own episode. But
let us know in the comments.
Let's do tabdeel of that word and make hijrah into moving to Saudi. Tayyib.
I like what you did there. Very smart.
Yeah, let's just move that one.
Okay.
Hey, Tayyib. So first, let's talk about, because obviously connecting to your story, which was the last segment, connected to how you went about moving to Saudi.
Yeah. Okay. So for me, it was taking the employment path as an English teacher. So when I left the music industry, I needed a job, and also I wanted to do talib al-ilm. So I got to the point where working in Saudi was the best option. So what did I need? I needed a month teaching course, CELTA we call it. There's a Trinity College one as well, I believe. So I did that, and then through word of mouth, I found out about a meeting for like a job interview that was happening in London for a school in Riyadh, here in Riyadh. I went, and alhamdulillah.
Do they still do those meetings? I remember like when I first became Muslim, people were talking about even the Islamic universities used to have some type of meetings in the West.
Yeah.
Where they would come.
Yeah, you could go
come and you do your application with them. Do they still do these things, or is it kind of like obsolete now?
I don't know. I did one in 2013.
No, they do.
For the
Medina, yeah.
Yeah, that was then. I'm talking about like today. Like, do they still do it?
I mean, they do for jobs, yeah.
Oh, do
certain
they?
jobs.
For jobs,
okay.
definitely.
Yeah, they do. Like
a fair, a job fair.
Job fair, or like this job is holding interviews, or this company is holding interviews in this hotel in central London.
Oh, Jimmy. So how would a person coming to move to Saudi or anywhere, going on that path of teaching English, how would they go about finding information on those?
Information. Okay, so
what are the conditions as well?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it can be word of mouth from the brothers in the masjid. Like at that time when I was in UK, there was, you heard different people coming back to UK from Saudi, or people going out to UK. There's always people that are kind of connected. And also websites like Dave's Esul Cafe, that was a popular one. People would look for jobs on there. Today, LinkedIn, I don't think it was around when I was in UK. LinkedIn, networking on LinkedIn, just looking for jobs, searching, using those, those resources. And then you apply. If they get back to you, you do the interview. Sometimes the interview may happen in UK if they're doing like a job fair, like we just spoke about, or sometimes it may be online. And and then after that you either get accepted or rejected, and they send you the visa, the 90-day working visa.
And it was just for your family at the time, you or your family
some jobs they give the visa for the whole family. That's mainly Saudi government jobs. They will send the ta'shirat for the whole family, and you can all go as one. That's the best situation. But moving from a Saudi government job to a private company, now that there's problems with that you sometimes you have to leave khuruj nihai, you have to leave final exit, and that can be difficult.
And then but you can still come back.
You can still come back, but you can't do naqd kifala. You can't transfer your iqama to a private company. So if you get a job with a Saudi government position in a university or school, just be aware of that point if you want to move in the future. Other than that, you come as a single, as a bachelor, on a 90-day visa. This is in my time. I'm not sure if anything's changed today, but I believe it's still the same. Then you in that 90 days, you get into your job. Maybe you have a probation period. They get you your iqama, your residency card. And then when you've got your iqama, you can open a bank account. And then when you've got your iqama, you can apply for your family istiqdam, they call it, the famous yellow slip.
Yeah. So how long would you say it takes for you to get here and then get this yellow slip for the istiqdam to bring family?
It can take, don't quote me, but anywhere between 6 weeks to 2-3 months.
But 6 weeks generally is about the minimum, month and a half.
Maybe, possibly. We'd have to, I'd have to ask someone who's come recently. I think now the process is easier because you don't have to line up outside the istiqdam office for like 10 hours to get the yellow slip. Now it's online, mashallah.
But now problems, from what I heard from some of the brothers working here, is that they're finding that some companies aren't giving the iqama for the entire family.
For the family,
it's like a single package type of deal.
Yeah, that's become popular. So you need to check the job
and
make sure that there's a family package, or at the very least you can bring your family under your sponsorship, or
which would be like a family visitor visa.
It could be a family visitor visa. Sorry, the sponsorship, that would still be they would still have the iqamas. Like family visit visa, but that means that's a problem for schooling for the children, because you generally need an iqama for your children to enter into the schools here. And if your family wants to go into markaz tahfidh al-Quran, or for women, mashallah, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia in general, they've got a lot of tahfidh Maracas institutes catered specifically for women to learn Arabic and to learn their deen. Like very good places, mashallah. So if people want to run their mouths about no education for women, there's more for the women actually than there is.
I was going to say that.
For the men.
I've seen more Maracas for women than I've seen for men.
100%. I'm still trying to find one that I can go to after work right now. I'm like Abdul-Hameed, can we do Medina Book 2 again?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he's like,
yeah.
So
Jameel.
yeah, mashallah, they cater for the women. Mashallah, tabarakallah.
So that's generally the way of coming here as a worker.
Yeah.
I think the student thing, I think we talked about it before, right?
Coming as a worker,
yeah.
in terms of requirements,
Mm.
obviously when you got here, mashallah, those days, degree wasn't a requirement.
Yeah,
but now it is. Now minimum you need a bachelor's degree.
That's another point. Yeah, that's right.
That's the minimum.
Yeah, the days of coming on a CELTA, I believe, are over.
They're over.
Maybe there's some...
No. I'm saying they're definitely... Because the cultural attaché in London, it'll go through them. And the first thing they'll ask is for a bachelor's. And even that bachelor's that you have, if it says online only or something like that, anything online, they'll reject it.
That can be a problem.
Yeah, it has to be on campus.
Yeah, the conditions are stricter now. There was a point in history, even before when I came, where you just had to have the red passport or blue passport now in UK. I think
That's
blue
it.
in America, right?
Yeah, blue,
Yeah, and then class, you can teach.
Yeah.
You know.
And
you guys copied us.
Because you know English.
Excuse me. Maybe you copied us. Maybe it was blue before you colonized the natives. They didn't have it.
I didn't even know that people were even coming on CELTAs. I didn't know that. Like, I didn't know people were coming only strictly on CELTAs.
Yeah.
I mean, I heard some people doing some funny things with like fake degrees and things like that.
Yeah,
but now, like CELTA, that's 1 month study, and you can go and just make money.
You could, don't get people's hopes up. Those تلك أمة قد خلت راح. That's finished.
What's that?
That's gone. Those days are gone.
Yeah.
But don't belittle the status of that 1 month certificate, akhi. That was tiring, bro. Like,
I know, 100%.
I
know 100%. I've seen brothers who go through it. Khalil even did it, and I was going to consider doing it.
Yeah.
Even they have it available here in Riyadh, because I did the TESOL, and that was like 2 to 3 weeks.
The British Council.
And and I was going to do this, but I just was like, I'll hold off for now. I'm not belittling it. What I'm trying to say is, I mean, we can't say it's the same as a 4-year degree.
Of course.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Of course, yeah.
So if I have an option to either do a 4-year degree, which for us is minimum in America, to get a degree, 4 years. I think you guys are 2 years, right? For a degree?
Sure,
No, 4 as well.
It's 4 as well?
4 or 3.
Yeah.
University
3.
level,
I think 3.
Tayyib, so 4 years, and then you can get your degree to hopefully come to Saudi, versus having the option for 1 month. I mean, I don't think we can all agree.
Yeah.
There's no comparison.
Even if you don't sleep for that month.
That's
obviously,
and then
I'm just trying to make myself feel better. But now the conditions are stricter. So my advice to someone who wants to come into Saudi in the English teaching path is prepare before you come. Even if it means you have to stay a bit longer to get that which will really benefit you in the long run of raising your kids in a Muslim country and remaining amongst the Muslims. But obviously don't take too long, and don't like say, I'm going to do this extra thing, and then get a good foundation.
But from the requirements, and we all know day and age we live in, experience trumps qualification. So if you can get a job, apply for it with what you have now. So imagine you might, maybe someone already has a degree and maybe they have a CELTA, right? Obviously, the way things are going now, it seems like master's is going to be the new minimum. It's going to be the new floor. Yeah, it's working towards that. Whereby if you don't have a master's, then you only get accepted, right? Yeah. And also, when it comes to teaching English as well, another important thing is your degree needs to be related to education or English language. You can't have like a degree in business. So you could before, but now it's
days are over now, huh?
They seem to be over.
I think what you're saying is good. That at least, the very least, have your CELTA and your degree in the field that you're going to teach.
Yes.
And
then apply. And then start applying. Obviously, this process of applying will take time, and it can take time. So don't just sit around and be like, I'll wait. No. Meanwhile, go and maybe pursue a 1-year master's, a 2-year master's, whatever, if you can, right? But if you do get the opportunity, and they say, "Yalla, come over and work," do not. It's my advice. Do not postpone it and be like, "No, I'm gonna stay a bit longer to get my master's." Oh, to really establish myself, I might as well do my PhD as well. Because then you run the risk of losing that zeal, losing that intention, becoming da'if in your iman, and never going to a Muslim country.
Do you guys see a possibility for somebody to come on a tourist visa, for example, and look for employment?
Yeah,
do you
definitely.
Would you
Why not?
would recommend that?
That's a good idea.
Mumtaz.
And that's
it skips the middleman of the Dave Cafe and all this other stuff.
Interviews. He
Yeah.
can do interviews much easier, in that way.
Yeah, and we didn't have that in our time.
Yeah,
you know.
exactly. That's
we
what I
didn't
was
have
thinking.
that new 3-month tourist visa is, mashallah, tabarakallah, is an amazing tool.
Jameel,
You know, you can just 500 riyal, I believe, what's that, £100?
Yeah.
And then you can just come to Saudi.
Yeah.
You got 3 months at your disposal throughout the year.
Yeah,
You can do a lot, subhanallah.
A lot.
You
Yeah.
can even come and do talab al-ilm for 3 months.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
that program in Medina where they offer for a semester 3 months Arabic.
Mashallah.
Yeah, so it's built for these type of visas.
Subhanallah.
So you
Yeah,
come and
yeah.
you get this program out the way while
Yeah.
you're here on that visa.
I would say, brothers and sisters who are listening, like, if I obviously we don't say that if I did this XYZ, but had we had that situation in 2012, 2013, that you can come for 3 months, Allah knows best, but I would have taken that, because it was not easy to try and get into a place of talab al-ilm. Damaj was a war zone. Medina, there's a lot of bureaucracy, and you might not necessarily get in. Egypt can be difficult for some people, so don't like, if you have the chance, take that visa and try and get onto one of these 3-month Arabic courses. That is an amazing.
Also, you get to see, when you come, you get to see firsthand experience. How is it?
Yeah.
You know, is it going to be suitable for you and your family? Is it going to be something you can adjust to? Because how many people have we seen come within a month? They're gone.
Akhi,
Yeah,
in my first job, 2 weeks, brothers came, like a few different brothers, and they're like, I'm out. I can't
They
do
come
this.
here, they're expecting one idea of something. They get there, it's completely different.
Yeah.
So with that type of opportunity, I mean, why not take a whole tour if you have the ability? Go to Saudi,
Yeah.
go to Kuwait,
Why not?
go to UAE, look for
No,
jobs.
even within
whole job
Saudi,
hunt, right?
Yeah.
even within
It's a very
Saudi,
good
the
idea.
cities are different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The cities are different.
Exactly.
Riyadh is not like Mecca.
And not like Medina.
And
They're all
Jeddah is
completely different.
They're completely different. So some people, they
It's
might
true.
feel comfortable in Riyadh. Some might feel comfortable in Mecca. So you have to definitely try that out. But also another important thing as well, I think, is that some people, shaitan, from his talbis, he'll say like, "Oh, 3 months, I can't really reach my goal of whatever that goal you put in your head in 3 months." But that's not the point. The point is that those 3 months, they will give you fuel.
Yeah.
You're 3 months in a Muslim country, benefiting from the scholars. You know, it will give you a taste of knowledge, a taste of Arabic, and it will be something that you will reap its benefits even when you go back.
Yeah.
It's not just, don't just look at it and be like, "Oh, 3 months, what can I get done in 3 months?"
Nah.
These 3 months can change your life.
To be honest with you can get a lot done in 3 months.
You could do a lot
with
done.
Arabic.
Yeah.
You can.
I mean, you can get a lot done. Look, if you're looking for a job, you can get a lot done in a month.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be like, what was the statement of Ibn Mas'ud? إذا أصبحت فلا تنتظر المساء وإذا أمسيت فلا تنتظر
Ibn
الصباح.
Umar, I think.
Ibn Umar, أيوة صح. So if you, the point of the athar is what? Don't delay anything.
Yeah.
If you have the ability to try to do some type of khair, change your life, like we talked about earlier, taking care of your time, then take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Type Saudi visa. They have a website. You can have
Tourist
your
visa.
tourist visa. It's got a website, visa.sa.
E-visa.
Something like that.
E-visa.sa.
Yeah.
E-visa, yeah.
Google it, fill it out. Inshallah, 2-3 hours from now, you can have your tourist visa and then figure out which plane you're going to catch, inshallah.
Yeah, it takes 5 minutes, literally.
Yeah.
No, I did it for my in-laws. It was very simple.
Yeah.
Very simple.
Very quick. We didn't talk too much about working while doing talab al-ilm, and like the hardships, or like the things that people may find problematic, or the easy paths to do that. So maybe we could talk about
Definitely.
that. Yeah, let's talk about it for sure.
People, they want to know that.
Yeah, so obviously
that's one of the perspectives you can bring. I mean, we talked about seeking knowledge and then working.
Yeah.
Yes. To put bread on the
combine
table.
between the two.
Yeah.
But you are actually working in the morning or 9
knowledge.
to 5, whatever the hours are.
Yeah.
And then trying to seek knowledge. That's another perspective, definitely.
Yeah,
I'm sure
so
the viewers will benefit from that.
Yeah, so alhamdulillah, the means or the opportunities to seek knowledge here are mashallah, and depending on the city as well, it can depend. Riyadh has many mushayikh, and there are also dawah centers that if you're new to Arabic, you can start with one of these dawah centers. Like in my first year, I was going to a dawah center not far from where I worked, between Maghrib and Isha, 5 days a week for the Arabic.
Mashallah.
And And after the Dawah Center, you can, you've got places like Imam Saud. They have the evening, Jamiatul Imam Saud. They've got evening courses. So you can enroll onto these courses. After COVID, things haven't, it's been a bit slow starting up some of these courses.
Get it back in rotation.
But if not that, then there's plenty of Arabic teachers living in Riyadh. You just need to find any international school or any Islamic school. There's a lot of mainly Egyptian brothers that teach Arabic here. It's Egyptian, Syrian. So you'll find Saudis too, and you can organize private lessons after work. And the key is to not burn yourself out. Just be small and consistent, and over the years you'll get it. Because when I first came, I was like, okay, Shaykh Fawzan, mashallah, Shaykh Fawzan said, let me go to his sharh, yani Fath al-Majid. After Maghrib, I've been working the whole day, didn't have hardly any lugha with me, and I'll be sitting there and I'll be like, mashallah, Shaykh Fawzan, I'm actually sitting in front of him, I'm seeing him. And then after like half an hour, I'm like
dozing away,
trying to stay awake because I don't understand what he's saying. So after a while, you're like, and then you get disheartened. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take aham qabl al-muhim. Let me get the lugha so I can actually benefit from the shaykh.
And priorities, more important things.
So for like a couple of years, I was just focusing on the Arabic before I went and started sitting with mashayikh and stuff like that again. And after a couple of years, alhamdulillah, it opened up to the level where I could sit and understand in the durus and get the majority of the masail and things like this. So for people that are coming that don't have much Arabic, don't just start sitting here, there and everywhere if you don't have the lugha. Get the lugha, be patient, small and consistent. Even if it's a lesson a week, 2 lessons a week on the weekend, and you're working in the week, just keep doing that and it will come.
Well, they say slow and steady wins the race,
exactly,
right? I would add to that though, because even students come with the same type of problem that they face, which is they don't know Arabic, and then they say, I'm going to just focus on the mahad for 2 years or whatever the case may be before I get it, and then I'll start sitting with Shaykh Fawzan or sitting with Shaykh Al-Haydan or whoever from amongst the mashayikh. Shaykh Al-Haydan rahimahullah. So that however, I have to push back on because I've seen brothers who come and first-hand experience, they have this type of understanding, but they either leave, drop out, kicked out, whatever the case may be. The sheikh passes away, or they've developed a type of routine where the mashayikh are just not in it. And this is what you see, where it's like, because it's always going to be something else. It's going to be first, I was trying to do this for this, then it's, well, my iqamah, I'm here for the jamia. And they get some kind of, jamia is important. Shaykh Fawzan said, focus on the jamia. Now they're not doing that. So then now it's, because it's always going to be difficult. Me, from what I've seen, is it's always going to be difficult regardless. You have to figure out how to manage all of it, because it's not just what the sheikh is saying, but it's also his usloob. It's also the way he conducts his lesson. It's also Q&A. Also, when you're learning the language, you're picking up vocabulary. Try to write down what you might understand.
So we can maybe add or correct what I said with saying, okay, add the majalis with the mashayikh in there.
Don't forget,
so you can benefit from their akhlaq as well, and also
no, but what you say, what you say connected to that is good though, which is slow and steady. Like, don't make it where you're sitting with all the mashayikh that you can possibly think of every single day, and you don't have the ability to do so. And then now you're burnt out, and now you did that for maybe 2-3 weeks, and now we don't see your lessons for 4 or 5 months. Because you burnt yourself out.
Basically, don't leave off going to the mashayikh because, and we talked about this actually at length last time. Statement of Umar radiallahu anh, that when he mentioned that a man will leave his house and go in sit at one of the sittings of knowledge, and he will hear the Khair, and then he'll make tawbah, or to the extent that if he had a mountain like sins the size of Tihama, it would be forgiven for him. So he said, لا تفارقوا مجالس العلم, do not stay away from majalis. And why? Because at the end of the day, these are majalis al-dhikr. The malaika are there.
In the best of places.
You know the hadith about majalis al-dhikr? The malaika, they bring sakina. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala,
going out and walking to these majalis.
They're walking to these majalis. And Allah forgives. Like, يعني لا يشقى بهم جليسهم. You know that story I mentioned with Uthaymeen? One guy, I'm just going to repeat it. It was beautiful. Shaykh bin Uthaymeen asked a student a question.
Yeah.
And he didn't know how to answer the question. And so the Shaykh basically said to him, you know, why are you here? If you don't understand something this basic.
Yeah.
And he's like, Humul qawm la yashqa bihim jalisuhum. He said, because they are the people, and whoever sits with them is not wretched. So the Shaykh said, we wanted to teach him, but he taught us.
Allāhu Akbar. Allāhu Akbar.
So, and Shaykh Sulaiman Ruhaili shared a story of the husband and wife who who sat. So the point is,
and he was following them around as well.
He was following them around. Yeah. So the point is, when someone comes to Saudi initially, and this is for most people that come here with the intention of, like the question mentions, for the purpose of deen, right? They come here for the purpose of deen and seeking knowledge, and they have this zeal, they have this hype, they have this enthusiasm, right? If they don't maintain that, then what's going to happen is, over the course of time, you know, they're going to fall off. And
100%.
How many people have come here to Saudi Arabia on an employment visa with the intention of seeking knowledge, but then dunya got to them? I'll be honest, Akhi.
Exactly what the questioner is asking.
Yeah.
You know? They come with the same thought. I'm moving to Saudi for the deen.
Yes.
To better myself and my family. But employment's second option.
Yeah.
That's just something it's a ticket that gets me, the golden ticket.
It's like
To
a
be here.
wasila to get to.
Exactly. But then it becomes the whole
It does.
purpose.
Yes. There's more fitnah. I mean, to be honest, truth be said, some brothers, they come here, and the sort of money you can make here is unheard of in the UK and America. Yeah, for teaching English,
100%.
sometimes you got people paying 250 riyals an hour. What's that? That's engineer, that's doctor money, akhi. I mean, for just sitting there and speaking English. Those opportunities are there, absolutely. But if you pursue that, 9 to 5, you're teaching in a school or whatever, up to 9 to 3, whatever.
Yeah.
And then you go home, you eat, and then all your evenings you spend tutoring kids or tutoring adults. When are you going to seek knowledge? When are you going to benefit?
Yeah.
Years will go by.
That's true.
Okay?
Yeah.
Initially they came for the deen. Now they're thinking, wow, I think I should buy a house in the UK. You know? Now they start thinking. I know, brothers, that's where it always starts.
Well, that's the plus of the shaitan,
It starts with the whole, oh, wait a minute. Things they couldn't think of, dream of before. Now it's like, oh, we're still going to buy a house. I'm going to buy a house in the UK, buy a house in America.
The dunya opens up, exactly.
Dunya opens up. So please be aware of this and do not fall for the plots of the shaitan. And one of the plots of the shaitan, sometimes he comes an yamin. Like he said, an imanihim wa an shama'ilihim. Sometimes he comes from the right. He comes to you from a direction of a good direction. Like, oh, no, you're just not going to Fawzan now so that you can do X, Y, and Z and you can come back stronger. هذا شيطان يأتي عن إيمانهم. Sometimes عن شمائلهم.
It's a good thing that I've got two طلاب العلم.
Yeah, جزاك الله خير.
Because you can, put things into perspective.
بارك الله فيك. Sometimes عن شمائلهم. Yeah, so it's.
I mean, that's the benefit of these type of conversations.
Definitely.
We all just throwing ideas out. I mean, we know the topics before we come, but we don't know exactly where the conversation's going.
Exactly.
We help correct each other. We help move forward, and everybody benefits because this is how a lot of people don't understand the reality of how it is when you get here.
Yeah,
a lot of people come like this, and then next thing you know, they're tutoring all day long. You don't see the brother ever. There's people here that I thought moved away. I thought they left. And part of it's because the city is so big, but also the part is just.
I mean, we see each other in the Durus anyway. Where else do we catch brothers anyway?
Yeah, you don't.
I mean, the Riyadh is so big. If I see brothers, I see them in the Durus. Someone's like, I haven't seen you for a long time. That means you haven't been coming to Durus. Simple said, you know.
And it's true what you said. Like, I could have, alhamdulillah, it didn't happen. I could have gone off for 2 years and then anything could have happened and I would never have sat with Shaykh Fawzan again. And especially now he's not teaching. The COVID happened. Imagine. Alhamdulillah, I got.
It was golden years, man.
Yeah,
golden years. Allāhu Akbar.
So, but yeah, with the thing of like chasing the dunya too much, and everyone has their own situation back home as well. So it's not blanket that everyone teaching after working hours is,
No, not I'm saying that. Just وَلَا تَنْسَ نَصِيبَكَ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا. Don't forget your nasib from the dunya. At the same time, have a balanced lifestyle. You have to find the balance between, between providing for your family and also seeking knowledge. But it's a shame that if you come here, like I said, I'm not saying that you teach after school or something like that. When your whole evening goes to tutoring, you don't find time for durus anymore.
I was going to say, like, I know of people that their job is like very, mashallah, Allah Mubarak, very high paying. And then they're going to, let's say over 20,000 more riyal a month. And then they're going to do private tuition after they finish work, like they finish at 1 and they got the whole day ahead of them. It's like, subhanallah, bro, like you got such a good opportunity to increase in your religion.
So
I don't think you need that evening tuition.
Yeah.
It's just because you can get a nice 250 or 350, like so it's a bit
Even
baffling
the things you can buy.
sometimes. It's like, what are you doing to get that capital of Islamic knowledge, which is more important, you know? And how many opportunities we have. I mean, one day we might not have the opportunity that we have right now.
So and like you guys said already, that I mean, obviously everybody's situation is different. So we're speaking from a general aspect of it. So yeah, let's move on to that final segment. I think we dealt with that question. Alhamdulillah, barakallahu fikum. The final segment was dealing with the characteristics of a da'i. And obviously, this topic is very, very important. Why? Because, like we said, YouTube is a cesspool. The dunya is filled with a lot of claimers to love Layla.
Yeah.
But she doesn't love any of them. And then you got the situation where, I mean, just everyone's thinking everyone's a teacher and everyone's on the same level. And it's not really the case. So I just wanted to point this out because I think it's an opportune time to do so, but also to give people a blueprint of how to go about seeing who that da'i is. And you yourself, if you are a da'i, how a person can correct ourselves, because it's a reminder for all of us, correct ourselves and get us more in line with being du'at for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's sake.
No.
You know? So this was a statement that I had taken from Shaykh bin Baz, where he lays it out. I thought it was pretty holistic, and I don't think I've been reading all the Arabic word for word. Unless you want, did you want to read it? Or should we just go through the bullet points of it?
No, the bullet points are good enough. I would just like to maybe share a little metaphor with the people.
Yeah, Fallah.
You know, of the importance of knowing who to trust when it comes to your religion. And we touched on it at the beginning of the segment as well, how some people, they don't have honesty, they don't have integrity and these sort of things. It's just that, you know, when it comes to du'at, as a metaphor, every da'i is a salesman. Right? Okay, everyone's trying to sell you something. That's what it is. Yes. Now, some are truthful and some are deceitful. Yes. So some, they're trying to sell you a nice car that is, mashallah, good. Everything's good about it. They're truthful. Yes. Great. And some salesmen are sleazy, liars. So in this kind of situation, really, yes, when you're walking to the showroom, everyone's trying to sell you something. Yes. Some for good intention, some for bad intention. Some people are selling you something that is good, some are selling you something that is bad. In that kind of situation, how would you go about things? What would be the most important characteristics or the biggest false red flags that would make you think twice? Now, one of them, and the Shaykh has mentioned many characteristics, but this I think this is a very important one. Okay, and Shaykh must have mentioned, if he hasn't, I mean, it's been mentioned in the Quran and the Sunnah, which is honesty and integrity. So, if this person is a liar, or he is someone who contradicts himself, or he's someone who has multiple faces, walk away.
No.
Do not expect any khair from such an individual when it comes to da'wah. Abadan. Why? Because if he is not even truthful to himself, and he's not truthful, yes, to the da'wah and what he's calling to, what do you expect from him? So if you're there at that showroom, you're trying to find a car, and you know this salesman, he clearly says to you something about the car that's not true, and you know it's a lie, or he contradicts himself within a couple of minutes, you're still gonna have trust in that car you're about to buy? You're not. But now we're talking about your religion, we're talking about your akhirah. You know that this person lies. You know that on YouTube he says one thing, on Telegram he says something else, on Twitter he says something else. Today he's saying something, tomorrow he's saying something else. And he just goes about debating and every single time changing his narrative to suit the situation and to please the people. If you know and you see this, and we've seen this a lot, yes, we've seen this all the time. I think this is a big red flag. And
I think that's what the point that one of the brothers, he had made a video, he was talking about just dishonesty of different individuals. And that's the point that I think he was trying to drive home, which is that if a person is dishonest, then we don't care what they have to say about anything else after that.
Exactly.
We don't care about, you know, what he might say. Okay, he said this wrong. He's dishonest generally speaking, but we still want to hear his opinion on this particular aspect.
Or he brought evidences.
How can you know?
Or he brought evidences. He brought evidences. La ya akhi. If you're a liar, yes, and you're dishonest, whatever evidence you bring, I'm not going to have shak in the evidence. from the Quran and the Sunnah, but I'm definitely going to have shak in your intention and your quoting this ayah and how you're explaining it. I'll have shak in that.
100%.
100%. I'm not going to accept it, and I'll think twice and I'll take it from someone else.
And also, like we were talking about earlier regarding the book the sister wrote, the Muslim sister had wrote, but it had all the, you know, alphabet community agendas in it.
Yeah.
Like we said about not being naive.
Yeah.
You know, don't think that everybody upon misguidance. What do you think they're quoting?
Yeah.
They're not just talking from themselves. They're talking from Quran and Sunnah.
Yeah.
The problem is their tatbiq and how they're explaining it.
Yeah.
And this is where this is where it should really be fearful for everyone, because that right there is from the ultimate deception.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about a sales cardsman, but we're talking about when you look at it in deen aspect, this is your life and your hereafter.
Subhanallah.
And you're just giving it to this person who you already know it has been clarified that he's dishonest.
Yeah.
He or she or whoever the case may be. Again, like we said, this is a blueprint so that we can just enter in and.
I think obviously for new Muslims, like even myself, I know when I first took Shahada, I was very naive, like a baby, you know.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand a lot of things, so naturally people will go through this problem of not knowing where to go or who to listen to, or you know. So yeah, this is the problem, or the struggle of the reaver or the newly practicing.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to happen. There's going to be some people who are genuine, you know, and they just happen to come across this. I'm looking on YouTube from stuff, and I just find this. Yeah, 100%. That's generally going to happen. But I'm speaking about people who, generally speaking, they know, like they've seen, but for whatever reason, or you might even warn them. Like I was telling you before we started the pod, I was like, we talked about this 3-4 weeks ago, and I told people stop watching it. Then some of them same people come back and say,
"He brought evidences.
Can you explain this, Ustadh? Because you know, I'm like, you're still there."
I mean, it's the struggle of our times anyway. Prophet ﷺ foretold.
Yeah.
He said that when the scholars die, what happens? اتخذ الناس رؤوسا جهالا. People will take as leaders people that are جهال.
صحيح.
فأفتوا بغير علم فضلوا وأضلوا. صح. So these أئمة أخوف ما أخاف على أمتي الأئمة المضلين. The thing that I fear the most for my ummah are the misguided imams.
And let's jump into the characters, huh?
SubhanAllah.
Yeah. So Shaykh bin Baz, he said the first character was ليس في استطاعة كل مسلم إلا بعد تعلم. So the first one is that the person needs to learn. He has to have knowledge. He has to be someone who sought knowledge. And that's what we said from the very beginning. If a person doesn't have knowledge, automatically he cannot qualify as being some type of da'i. No. It's not possible. Yes, he can have good akhlaq. Yes, he can know some things. But to make him somebody you go back to in order to understand the shara', the legislation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, la.
But what's knowledge?
Stop.
You have to define what knowledge is.
Knowledge is not tib. It's not studying.
Ability to debate people. Debate non-Muslims or feminists and
stuff.
That's not knowledge.
Exactly. The ulama say that knowledge is what? The knowledge of the shara'. The knowledge of Qala Allah, Qala Rasul, Qala Sahaba. This is the essence.
Taken from its source.
Islamic knowledge taken from its source.
It's ulama.
Understood and studied in its proper manner. This is the way you go about it.
No.
And then he goes on and he talks about where was that? Aywa ad-da'wa ila Allah tahtaj ila al-ilm. Aywa, first foremost you need to understand knowledge. You have to have knowledge, and it needs this. Likewise, it needs and this is just general characteristics. He goes on to mention a few. Language of those who al-mukhatib, the ones who you're addressing. Yeah. Okay, so this is the importance of what we just talked about, which is dealing with the Arabic language, understanding it, but also putting it forth in a way that people can understand it properly.
Yes.
طيب. And then he mentions the ayah قُلْ هَذِهِ سَبِيلِي أَدْعُو إِلَى اللَّهِ عَلَى بَصِيرَةٍ. Right, so say this is my way, O messenger. I call to Allah with clear evidence, I and those who follow me, meaning upon knowledge, upon basira.
I advise the brothers to watch, and the sisters, Shaykh Sulaiman Ruhaili's lecture he's done in the conference in Birmingham, talking the whole lecture about this ayah.
SubhanAllah.
Beautiful lecture.
Send it to me so I can put it in the description.
Abshir.
Anyway, the next one, relying on and giving importance to the Quran and Tafseer, meaning with its meanings, right? So obviously if you're giving da'wah, what is your marja? What is your what do you say? Your tool belt, right?
Yeah.
The thing toolbox. Things that you need to go back to, right?
Yeah.
What's your gadgets?
Yeah.
This is it. Quran and the Sunnah. Not anything else. We're not going to mantiq. We're not going to philosophy. We're not going to, Jordan Peterson said, we're not going to these influencers. La. This is the toolbox. Quran and Sunnah.
And how do you know that? Because they say, the Arabs say, فاقد الشيء لا يعطي, right?
Sahih.
If you truly want to know if someone has knowledge.
Translate that.
Yeah, someone that doesn't have something, he can't give it.
No.
Right? So, if you allow me to share a 2-minute story.
Yeah, follow.
Okay. I know the time is short. But I remember a couple of years ago, and my brother actually reminded me this. So something happened between me and my brother. He's like, Muhammad, do you remember this? And when you said this to me, opened my eyes for me. I was like, what was it? He's like, one day we were sitting in the masjid, we prayed salah. After salah, some guy, he stood up. And he gave like a little talk, 5-10 minute talk. After talk was over, I asked my brother, and I said to him, this guy, what do you think of his talk? He's like, oh, mashallah, nice talk. I said to him, how do you know if he has knowledge or not? How do you know this person is just giving a talk, what he's mentioned, if he's a knowledgeable person now? Because a lot of us, we fall for people just because of the way they talk. He's like, I don't know. I said to him, okay. I said to him, how many verses from the Quran did you hear? Nothing. How many ahadith from the Messenger did you hear? Nothing. How many statements from the Salaf did you hear? Nothing. Okay, now you can deduce that this guy has no knowledge. Simple. لأن, like Ibn al-Qayyim said, العلم, knowledge is قال الله, قال رسوله, قال الصحابة, هم عرفاني. Knowledge is Allah said, the Prophet said, the Sahaba said. If you want to have a litmus test, my dear brother, my dear sister, everyone, you want to have this smallest of tests that you can use to determine if this person in front of you has knowledge or he's someone who calls to knowledge. Just listen out. If he's quoting ayat from the Quran, if he's quoting ahadith from the Messenger, if he's quoting statements from the Salaf, this means, okay, he's got some knowledge. Then obviously these other questions apply. But this is like the first filter, if you like. But if you see someone, blah, 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 talking for an hour, no ayah, no hadith, using logic, this is run a mile.
Of course.
Run for your life.
100%.
No.
Now, barakallah fiqh. So moving on, the Shaykh also, he mentioned والحضور عند الأهل العلم, يعني attending the sittings of the people of knowledge. Again, going along with the characteristics of a da'i. If a person isn't sitting in the lessons of the scholars, he hasn't benefited from the scholars, there's no way we can go and say that يعني he's on that level to be a da'i. Why? Because al-ilm, bitalaqi is something which is taking directly from that scholar, sitting at his feet, is transmitted.
Not from books, not taken from books.
Not directly from books, as we always stress. It's not taken directly from books. Next one, he said, ask the people of knowledge and affairs you don't understand. So you have to go back to the ulama, understand these things that ashkala alayk. Again, don't return back to books. We see this happening a lot. People, and this is where a lot of back and forth as well happens. And this is something that can be a reminder for not only people of misguidance, but even people of Ahl Sunnah. Don't rely, like, yes, it's batil, but you yourself may acknowledge that it is a shubha. Do not automatically return back to books to try to figure out, and you can do that.
Or you choose da'is.
Yeah, it's possible to do that, but also make sure, go past Ahl al-Ilm. And ta'akkad. Make sure your understanding is properly, because I've seen some people, they think they're rebutting, but they're actually opening another shubha.
Or just quoting from a book.
Quoting something, and it's not quite, and they make it like, I think he's right in this. Why? Because it turns to a debate. And that's not the way it should be. You have to be very, very careful with this, because again, you open the doors for more misguidance to happen, and then more confusion, and then everyone says, "What? All these Muslims are always arguing and going back and forth," and then class they laugh at all you. Why? Because of this.
And it opens the door to cherry pickers.
Cherry pickers as well.
At the end of the day, the books, all these books around you, all of this, not everything is authentic or correct.
Exactly.
There's aqwal da'ifa, there's something, sometimes even, you'll see Sufis sometimes quoting Ibn Taymiyyah.
Of course.
And how they're quoting Ibn Taymiyyah? Because Ibn Taymiyyah, he's quoting the mukhalif, what the Sufi said, and then he refutes them. So he'll quote it in the page loads, like pages worth of what the mukhalif said, just like that. And then at the end he'll refute it. So what does Sufi do? He finds kalam, opens Ibn Taymiyyah's book. Since the author says Ibn Taymiyyah and has this sentence, Ibn Taymiyyah said this about Mawlid. So again, that's why just going down the books or just quoting books, still, Return back to Ahl al-Ilm.
Just like you want to seek clarity in the comment section of YouTube.
Oh.
This is a wrong
100%,
understanding completely.
100%.
We return back to Ahl al-Ilm.
Sahih.
We don't try and solve our problems in the comment section of YouTube.
It's not a democracy. It's not a majority. It's not 80% says yes to this video, and you know what? Yeah, I think it's a yes.
That's how it seems.
You know what I'm saying?
The fitnah that is going on at the moment.
Exactly. Yes, you use that in some type of technology, maybe. Use that on some type of dunya affair that you might see. Is it a good product or whatever the case may be? But don't ever use that criteria on the deen.
Some of the jahl in the comments sometimes.
Yeah, it doesn't come. It doesn't come. We cannot do that. It's not based upon minority. There'll be time where the prophets, where prophets will come on the day of judgment with one follower, two followers, some none.
Yeah.
But you want to say what? They didn't have nobody? So they're upon batil? La, of course not.
Yeah.
Naam, Wallahu musta'an. Go to the next one. Then the Shaykh says he gets a hasila min al-ilm, yani meaning memorization, right? Understanding, sitting with them scholars in a long sitting. He has the ability to teach. What does he do then? He seeks encouragement from his teachers. So now we have the teachers pushing people forward to teach and asking and getting advice, etc. And it also help him be more suitable for da'wah. This is why it's so important for a person who studied with the scholars. Next,
and don't after seeking knowledge, don't just now isolate yourself.
No.
And be like, khalas, me and my da'wah. La. Still have to be in touch with the ulama, with your mashayikh,
100%.
seek their encouragement and their guidance and the likes. So that, because at the end of the day, we're just tulab.
Exactly. A vessel, yani. We learn something and we're just trying our best.
No.
The Shaykh goes on to emphasize the importance of memorization of Quran, Sunnah, and the ways of the Salaf. Then he also talks about knowledge, generally speaking. And he says a person also needs what? عنده علم وعنده حلم وبصيرة. And he has insight, he has knowledge, wisdom, forbearance. And then he goes on to mention what? عنده رفق واللين. He has gentleness. And he's able to deal with the people in a proper way, right? So this is Shaykh bin Baz. Some people might say, "La, but we need to be this way and that way." Come on, we have the Prophet Allah Ta'ala said, "What? فَبِمَا رَحْمَةٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ لِنْتَ لَهُمْ." Had it not been for the mercy of Allah Ta'ala and being lenient to them, وَلَوْ كُنْتَ فَضًّا غَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ لَإِنْ فَضُّوا مِنْ حَوْلِكَ. And had you been harsh or hard-hearted, they would have despaired from you. They would have left you. Yeah. This is Allah Ta'ala addressing the Prophet
about the companions.
Allahu Akbar.
So Allah is saying that, oh Muhammad, if you are someone who was harsh, then these companions around you would have left you because of the harshness.
So what about us?
What about us?
Exactly.
And that tweet, I think, was pinned on your Twitter for a long time.
Yeah.
About Shaykh al-Albani saying that this religion is aslan heavy. Don't make it heavy with your bad deeds, with your bad akhlaq. Subhanallah. We talked about it earlier. How some people they put others off from Salafiyya.
100%.
He said what? He said I used to think that the problems of the affair of dunya was just aqeedah based only. Then I realized it was what? It was akhlaq and it was aqeedah. Both go together.
Yeah.
I just found that's still like my motto, man. I was like, because it's so like profound. You see it. People have the truth, but the way that they're acting is pushing people away from accepting it. It's clear cut. And it's Shaykh Albani who died in what, 2001?
Yeah.
This is years ago.
Yeah.
And we see it now, of course, in abundance.
Throughout history. I mean, Prophet ﷺ said to Aisha, what did he say to Aisha? When one of the Jews, Prophet ﷺ, the Jew came and said, Assalamu alaikum. Instead of saying, Assalamu alaikum. So Aisha said to Alayk as-salam wal-la'na ya al-qirdah. She finished him up.
Yeah.
Prophet said to her, calm down. He said, don't you see I've said to him wa alaykum? And I've replied with him, and the reply that I replied with was a reply that was sufficient without any harshness. I said, and upon you. And he said, never is leniency put into something except that it makes it beautiful.
Allahu Akbar.
And never is harshness mixed into something unless it makes it ugly. Naam, this religion of al-Islam, Deenullah, this religion of ease, this religion of ihsan, you can make it ugly with your harshness.
And I went through that, like the first couple 2 years of my journey. It was made very ugly to me, and I had to just go for some soul searching, and alhamdulillah, Allah guided me to individuals that taught me the sunnah
No.
In a way which was with hikmah and with
Alhamdulillah, Allah
rahmah.
granted you tawfiq, akhi. Because some people, they might see that and they leave, they flee. It's
we've
too
seen
much.
it as well.
Yeah, we see it all the time.
That's what Allah says in the Quran. وَجَعَلْنَا بَعْضَكُمْ لِبَعْضٍ فِتْنَةً أَتَصْبِرُونَ. Allah says we made some of you as a fitna to others. Are you going to be patient? Because how many brothers, subhanallah, they will leave the jama'ah, or they leave the Salafis, and they'll go with Hizbis. Why? Because akhi fulan did this, fulan did that. Ya akhi, Allah is saying to you that He's made some of us fitna to others. This individual, Allah has made him a fitna. It's also a fitna for you, to test you. And Allah is asking you, atasbirun, will you be patient? Or are you going to throw out the baby with bathwater? You know, you can't do that. So, and the opposite is also true, which is that which is ugly and disgusting, such as bid'ah and shirk. It can be beautified with good akhlaq, and that's what they do, the Sufis. You know, you know, you know, good akhlaq, and you know, give you some sweets and stuff. And now they bring you what? They bring you dalal. So again, don't be fooled by the good treatment you get from some of the people upon misguidance, and let not the bad treatment of some of those that ascribe to the Sunnah put you off from the Sunnah. Rather stick to the Sunnah for the sake of Allah, because it's the Sunnah. This is true. The Prophet, he told us this is true, but it's our job to see past it. Prophet, he only told us this. Why did he tell us? He told us for two reasons. Number one, so that in our da'wah we have rifq. But he also told us so that we find out that yes, there are ugly, bad things that can be beautified with rifq. Don't fall for it. It doesn't change it. So both sides are true. So subhanallah. So this, in terms of da'wah, this characteristic here right now that the Shaykh mentioned, this should be a characteristic of every single da'i. Ya akhi al-kareem, if you don't see this in yourself, you're just a harsh person. You're hot-headed. Akhi, sit at home, barakallahu feek. La wallah, sit at home. Da'wah is not for you. If you don't have a thick skin and you can't be patient, you can't have sabr, you can't have hilm, this is not something for you. Everything that's said about you, you're going to take it personal. And تقيم الدنيا ولم تقعدها اجلس في بيتك والزم أهلك. خلاص, and keep your shar to you and your family. صح? But don't come now and sort of, if you like, disfigure or make the religion of Allah or Salafiyya look ugly in the eyes of the people.
And that's actually what Shaykh bin Baz says here in his last sentence. He says, فالحاصل, and he finishes off and said, أنه لا بد من بصيرة. You must have insight, you must have knowledge, right? Wisdom. ولا بد من أخلاق الفاضلة, and you must have good akhlaq. أن يكون ذا خلق كريم. You must have that, very good upright mannerisms. في حمله وقوله وعمله وأسأليبه. He must have it in his speech, his actions, his character, the ways he carried himself. Why? Because he said حتى لا يجد المدعو ثغرة. So that they don't find what? That type of opening to try to take away from that what you're calling to. Take away and erase your da'wah, everything you're going to, and then destroy it completely.
That's what they do.
And they say what? He said, وَيَقُولُ إِنَّكَ لَسْتَ كَمَا تَقُولُ. You're saying something, but we see you doing this. This is Shaykh bin Baz. It's not me. It's not the brothers. It's not. This is Shaykh bin Baz telling us and explaining to us. This is how it is. And again, it goes back to the ayah.
Subhanallah. Did Akhi al-Kareem, the enemies of Islam or the enemies of Salafiyya, have they ever criticized Salafiyya or Islam for anything other than the horrible actions of some individuals?
They can't.
That's the only thing they did.
They can't. You can't critique the Quran and Sunnah.
Exactly.
You can't critique the truth.
So all they can critique is our actions, our shortcomings. So they'll put people out from Salafiyya, look what Fulan did, look what Allan did. This is what will spread around social media. But they cannot face Salafiyya. They can't. Even when it comes to Shaykh Muhammad Abdul Wahab or the likes, they can't critique his work.
They can't.
Quran, Sunnah. What they can do is they can try to character assassinate.
He did the X, Y, Z.
Either false accusations or things that some people that ascribe to his da'wah have done. So they'll say to you, oh, these Wahhabis, they're ISIS. They're trying to connect what? Da'wah al-Tawheed to ISIS. Why? Because of ISIS' bad, evil characteristics.
And their misrepresentation
of history and of Islam. You see, so they like to make these connections. So, like the Shaykh mentioned, we shouldn't allow to make this opening for the enemies of Islam without bad akhlaq.
Ikhwa, final words before we end this podcast. We've been talking for about almost 2.5 hours. So let's go ahead and finish it up with some final thoughts, possibly. Anybody got anything before we finish out?
Go ahead.
I've done enough talking. The only thing I want to say is comment, like, subscribe, aid the da'wah, aid the spread of Khair. You know?
Yeah.
Don't stop doing that. I mean, honestly, the truth has to be said. Some of those people that are caught into misguidance, akhi, subhanallah, akhi, the comment section is on fire. You know, and this aids in the promotion of YouTube, promoting these sort of videos. So now we put forth what we can. We come here. Jazakallah khair, Akhuna Ismaeel, for taking out the time. Abdul-Hameed for doing all of the hard work. I just come here, drink a cup of coffee and speak. You know, the truth has to be said. Allah yajzik khair. We do what we can, but what you can do is, barakallahu feekum, is to comment and to like and press that share button within YouTube itself. Don't go to the address bar and copy the link, by the way. You know that, right? On YouTube, when you press the share button, the algorithm is actually like, oh yeah, someone actually shared it. But if you go and copy the URL from top, YouTube doesn't know. Click the share button and then copy link or send that from there directly to WhatsApp or Twitter or whatever. And share with the people. Yani. Do your side of things. Yani. I just want to add this. We should talk about this every single episode. I think we forget most of the time. But please don't forget, brothers and sisters.
Alhamdulillah, the interaction's been good so far. I mean, I mean, everything can improve and things, but it's been good. Alhamdulillah. Jazakumullah khair for listening and tuning in. And again, thank you, Ismaeel, for coming. We really appreciate you coming. And it's nice to have another face on the podcast and on the platform, giving their thoughts and explaining to us.
How
their
about YouTube channel?
Yeah, we need to get you back on your YouTube. The way you were talking about this background was good.
Maybe this will be an incentive, inshallah.
There need to be more people. I mean, the thing is, like, when you come on, just know your limit. That's all.
That's it.
And that's for everybody. You know, like, some people, even if you're a doctor, some people can probably help the Muslims by teaching them things about doctor experiences on YouTube.
Medicine.
Just we just need to feel the market. You know, but just stop at what you don't know. You get what I'm saying? If somebody's an engineer, don't go and start talking about, a sort of fiqh. And you haven't studied a sort of fiqh. But teach the Muslims with that intention, that, like Shaykh Uthaymeen was explaining, with that intention of being for the Muslims and being upon, Khair, you get rewarded for this. So just think about that,
No, I was thinking to use it as a platform to get to lab, like yourselves on there, and expose people to
absolutely
important issues like we're talking about today.
I'm happy.
People who have studied,
waiting for the invitation, inshallah.
Inshallah.
His YouTube channel, put in the comments. What was it called, by the way?
Ismaeel Sharpe.
Yeah, I think it's just his name.
It's been not very active for quite some time.
No, inshallah, it'll be active soon.
No, but that one video was really good. I think people were really in tune with it. The one you were explaining the background between, like, your Jewish background a little bit more, and I think the belief system and things like that. Come from that experience.
Was that like my revert story?
I think so. I think it was something connected to that, the Zionist thing.
Yeah, I did a few videos about Zionism and,
Yeah, these things people need to know. I mean, this is from ad-ddīn. It's right here.
Yeah, so.
Barakallahu feekum, ikhwah. Jazakallah khair for everyone tuning in and listening, and we'll end it with that. Sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala Nabi Muhammad.